Hello, welcome back
Audio's not
to...
on.
Is it not?
Is the audio on?
It's on. I think we're okay.
What a great start.
Technical gremlins in the Tifo Clubhouse.
Are we live?
Why did you say that?
Because you usually count us in with the mic, and you didn't.
I let him go.
Are we going?
I think we're going.
We're going. Okay, right. Well, technical gremlins defeated. Welcome back to Tifo Clubhouse. Hey, we've got some brilliant news to start the show with. There's no Joe Devine. Everyone's free. It's like it's like when a dragon lives above a village, but then the dragon is slain and all the villagers can come out of their houses and live freely and happy. Jon Mackenzie,
Hello.
how are you?
Good, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm feeling Don's eyeballs on me right now, but apart from that, good.
Well, you deserve it because you sabotaged the show.
That's true.
And
I ruined it again.
Yeah. Ryan Hun,
Hello, mate.
how are you doing today?
I'm all right, thanks. I'm all right.
Anything? So we've just finished watching, for people catching up. We've just finished watching the Netherlands against Sweden.
Yeah.
Enjoy it?
Yeah. Netherlands look very impressive. I
Yeah.
thought.
Okay. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
Well, I thought that it would have been a little bit more balanced, but it didn't feel that it was like it wasn't a 5-1 hammering. Do you know what I mean? It felt like Sweden had some decent opportunities.
I feel like they had that moment. Probably, I'm not going to say third quarter. I'm not going to fall into that FIFA trap that they've set for me. There were points during the second half where Sweden. In fact, I'm going to ask Jon this because this is a bit of a game state question. Jon, when Sweden had their kind of a few Anthony Elanga moments, was that something they did, or is that just a situation facilitated and created by the game state?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Thanks very much.
But I think whenever you're in a knockout tournament like this, game management is a super important aspect, right? So you're not going to want to run the whole time. When you're getting to a position where you're 4-0 up, you're not going to want to keep going at the same level of intensity, right? So then it becomes about managing those sorts of situations. Also, Sweden were 4-0 down, so they were going for it, but they had nothing to lose. So, yeah, I think it's probably more of a case of game state than any sort of tactical tweak. Although, tactics isn't just like the collective structures and stuff. It's the decisions that you make in terms of how you're going to approach the next few minutes, right? So maybe it was.
Can I jump in something? Because Jon mentioned when he came on Stadio, which is the thing.
What's that, Ryan?
It's the thing that I do.
Yeah.
With Musa Okwonga, who will be on joining us tomorrow and Monday.
People know Musa Okwonga. It's okay.
And it's also the sweatshirt that Jon's wearing. But when Jon came on, you were talking about mood. I think that this game felt like a mood game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it didn't feel like the the superiority of the scoreline, I didn't feel was reflected in the mood of the game itself.
Yeah, and when I say mood, I think often when we talk about tactics, people will think in terms of like structural ideas or even just like what parts of the pitch are the team trying to progress in. When actually I think there's something behind that that's a little bit more, again, like intensity. Like, are you going to up the intensity for a 10-minute slot or something, or are you going to drop off, be a little bit more passive? Are you going to for me, that's kind of those are the kind of interesting questions, rather than like the big picture stuff that we often end up talking about. Like, you don't need to know where your fullback is at all times.
Yeah.
So but why talk in terms of like the tactics board with here's everyone? It may be like a small part of the pitch where things are happening and the interesting conversations are being had. I think it was Emma Hayes yesterday talking about Bruno Guimaraes' position on the ITV coverage, which was just, she did it in the first drinks break of that game, the Brazil Haiti game. And I think those are the things that are really interesting. It's like, here's a little aspect of the game that actually has a massive impact on how the game feels, and that's what I'm finding more and more interesting as I go on as an analyst. It's like, where are those moments where you get a feel for what the game is about? This is the thing that's actually deciding it, rather than everything all at once.
Talking about Brazil and tactics, you're going to do a segment.
I am.
We're going to plan live on air, a bit of a sort of behind the curtain grill for people watching. When are you doing that bit? So
I'm going to do that now.
You're going to do that now?
Yeah, but you two need to talk while I set.
We'll do that. Or we could just. Would it be funny if we just said nothing?
A couple of requests in the chat. Just V Gates.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Seb Gates, good.
Yeah, also really good. I'm wearing my German socks. Also, I'm in the process of renewing my residency. So if anybody from someone, if anyone influential in Hamburg is watching, look, patriotism. Yeah.
Anyone from the Ausländerbehörde.
Yeah, exactly. That's just I hear there is a like part of that demographic does tune into this. So,
really?
Yeah. Apparently
no way.
So. John, are you ready?
I'm ready.
What are you going to talk to us about?
You need to intro me.
Okay, you're going to talk to us about Brazil. You're going to talk to us about some of the changes you have noted between the two Brazil games. Obviously, the 1-1 draw against Morocco, but then last night's game against Haiti. So what was better? Let's start with that.
Yeah, well, I think the most interesting thing about this Brazil team is that they came into the tournament. They played in everyone was quite excited. They had Ancelotti. It sort of made a lot of sense that he was going to fix a lot of the problems that people have seen in this Brazil side for a number of years now. And that first game was actually very disappointing. And I think it's kind of interesting to ask why that was the case. So on the board in front of me here, I've got the lineup from that game. And it's kind of a fairly kooky lineup, right? You've got Vinicius and Rafinha on the same side. Vinicius in the front line alongside Igor Thiago, the Brentford striker. And then you've got Paquetá as the winger on the other side. And I think what's so interesting about this setup is that I think it was pretty clear that they were going to try and get their most dangerous attackers, Rafinha and Vinicius, in space in behind, running at those back lines and trying to cause problems. And Thiago obviously there as well to help out. But they really struggled to connect the back to the front. And for me, this is the really interesting conundrum that Ancelotti had to solve. The distances ended up being big between the back and the front. So the problem is you've got these players looking to push up against the back line. You've got these players in the build-up unit looking to work the ball around into these forward players. And because of the way that Morocco were blocking out, they just couldn't connect. And even when someone like Paquetá would drop in to try and help out, they're still having these big different distances between the back and the front. And so as a result, you're not getting your best attackers into the game. And Brazil just looked very, very toothless.
Yeah, so looking at the formation that you've got up there, from my don't pay much attention to Brazil between tournaments vantage, I would say the problem you're describing, perhaps the remedy is Paquetá in more of a, not necessarily a 10 position, but more of a kind of an 8 to 10 role, the one that he played for West Ham, with either Rafinha or Vinicius right and left, split either side of Thiago. Why are they not doing that? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting question. I think whether or not the idea was for Rafinha and Vinicius to be able to associate with one another on the same side, and as a result, just using Paquetá sort of in the only available other position here, which is out in the wide, and then have him with the fluidity and flexibility to drop in. I assume that's what it was. But I think the issue ended up being that all of these players, Casemiro, Guimaraes and Paqueta, were receiving the ball with their backs to the goal. The Moroccans were able to push it into them and stop them from turning. And as a result, all they were ending up doing was just playing long balls into these front three, and they weren't able to make it stick. But those distances weren't just a problem in possession, they were a problem out of possession as well, because when Morocco were building up, actually if they got through this forward press, they would then enter this area, and they were basically running at a back line with Casemiro is not the biggest of space coverers, and Guimaraes had to do a huge amount of work. So essentially they were really struggling both in and out of possession to moderate these distances between where their front unit were and their back unit were. So this was the situation that they had to face coming into the Haiti game. How are they going to reduce these distances or find ways of overcoming these distances?
Jon, Igor Thiago, every time I open social media, he's being memed to death. You're a fan of his. I mean, we spoke during the Premier League season about his contribution at Brentford, what you like about him. What's your take on his role within this side? Because it's kind of an odd fit, right? You have these kind of decadently skilled attacking players, and you have him in the middle of it. Does it work?
I assume that the idea was to have him as an outlet, so you could play the ball up to him and he could hold up and then play through to the other guys.
Good transitional player, right? Someone that's really good, a good counter-attacker, but then as a direct player, I don't know.
Yeah, and it really didn't work out. So what ended up actually happening was that in the next game, Matheus Cunha was brought in as a striker who was going to play as more of a false nine. Okay. And we still had these same players on the pitch, but as you said before, it seemed a little bit more obvious to do. Vinicius goes back onto the left-hand side, Rafinha on the right, and then Cunha in between them, and then you've got Casemiro in the middle. Actually, we saw Bruno and Paqueta switch positions, but they ended up with this sort of Cunha as a false nine. He could drop in. You're overloading the midfield a little bit more, so you're getting better connections in the middle. So already you're thinking about how do we find it easier for us to connect the back to the front, and then you just have Vinicius, Rafinha actually quite narrow, and with the ability to make those runs in behind. So in possession, already you're thinking about how do we reduce those distances, make these connections a little bit more obvious. But actually, I think what was even more interesting here is that out of possession as well, they were much less aggressive in their press. So we talked before about how, because the front line was pressing quite high, the distances were opening out. If you got through that press, you could then have a free run at goal.
Right.
Not only are you blocking out the middle now with more players, but actually Brazil were much less likely to be aggressive in the high press. So I've got some numbers here from actually FIFA's own match reports, where we can look at the differences between how Brazil approached Morocco at the top here versus how they approached Haiti. And the big number to look at here is high press. 7% of the game against Morocco was spent in a high pressing situation, whereas as we can see in the Haiti game, they just weren't pressing as high. And actually, if we look at the mid block and low block, we can see those numbers: 16 up to 22, 19 up to 29. So actually what Brazil were doing is sitting a lot deeper, absorbing pressure, keeping those distances much more compact, and that did a couple of things. One of those is that it was much harder for these teams to actually transition against them. Yep. So if we look at defensive transition, 16% of the game was spent against Morocco in those defensive transition moments when they didn't have the ball. We jumped down to Haiti and it's only 10% of the game there. So they're making a huge reduction in the amount of time they're having to deal with those defensive situations.
I have a question. So it might not make sense, but to me, when you face an opponent like Haiti, I would always assume that a team like Brazil would kind of force their will a little bit and press them high to kind of potentially get a few mistakes out of their back line as they try and transition up the field. Why wouldn't they do that? What's the kind of, is it a case of saying, right, well, we're happy just to kind of let you play in front of us, retrieve possession, and then we back ourselves with enough front foot quality to then create chances ourselves? Is that it?
Yeah, I think it's a relative thing, right? Because often what you would expect a team like Haiti to do is sit deep and just absorb pressure and then try and hit the space in behind. But actually Haiti came out quite a lot against them and gave them the space to attack. And I think these players that we were talking about here, we talked about Vinicius Jr., we talked about Rafinha, we talked about Matheus Cunha. These players are really, really good at attacking space
at speed. So if Brazil can sit a little bit deeper and the opponent will come onto them, it will open out these attacks. And so actually the first 2 goals come from these sorts of situations, right? So this is the scenario for the first goal. We've got Brazil in the dark blue kit here, and we can see there's that diamond in the midfield that we talked about, with Kaynak dropping a bit deeper, and then you've got Vinicius Junior and Rafinha in that front line. So you're blocking out the middle, so you're not going to give up so much transitional space when you're going forward. But also they're not really making any kind of connection with the opposition in their build-up until around the halfway line as well. So if you're going to win the ball back, there's going to be a lot of space to run into. And I think that the thing to point out here is that actually, if you win the ball deeper in the field, you've got Rafinha and Vinicius able to run at speed at the gaps in the opposition's defence, which is how this is going to happen. So if we run the tape through, we can see Haiti about to play the ball into the midfield, but because Kaynak is there and because he's a mobile player, he's able to actually get really close to the player on the ball and win it back. And then you can see immediately that's a trigger for Rafinha and Vinicius to get forward. And all it takes then is Kaynak to play the ball to Guimaraes, and then he's got options to both of them in space, right? So rather than actually worrying too much about building up and getting the ball to those players in possession and having to work it through a block, what they're doing is just waiting a little bit deeper, springing these traps, and actually able to attack from there. And then we've got the same example from the second goal, slightly different here because Kayna's in the front line with Vinicius, and Rafinha is on the outside of the diamond, but the same kind of structure in place. Haiti in their build-up phase, they're going to play it round to the outside centre-back here. He's going to play the ball inside, which is, you're trying to create an access to the free player. But we've got Paquetá here who's able to get across, win the ball back, and then you're in the same situation. You've got two players now with space in front of them to run into, and as a result, they can generate these sorts of attacking moments, right, which are very transitional moments. And I think what all of which this shows is actually maybe Brazil are at their best when they are able to generate these more transitional moments. Maybe the problem with the game against Morocco is they were trying to possess the ball too much or trying to do possession control too much without the players to do that. And so what Ancelotti has done is he's tweaked the system, and he's got the team in a structure where they can actually play a little bit more passively, a little bit more, maybe even you might call it underdog football, in order to be able to get the most out of the players in front of them.
I feel like that's a little bit of an irony, because if I was a Haiti supporter, if I saw my team in that situation and I've got those 3 players running at me, I'm thinking, I'm in trouble. I don't want to see that. And yet you've got these individually, Rafinha, Vinicius, of course, like super talented players. And it kind of suits, ironically, because obviously Real Madrid, Barcelona, Brazil, kind of suits being a bit of a counterpuncher because that's the situation they want, right?
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
It's very, very interesting.
And I think this is going to be the question with Brazil going forward. Has Ancelotti fixed Brazil by making them a bit more of a direct team, not worrying too much about, do we need to possess the ball all the time? Do we also always need to have these sustainable ways of getting the ball to the front line from low build-up? Can we actually play just counter-punch football, and may this get us a little bit deeper in the tournament than the way that they played against Morocco?
What did he inherit? When Ancelotti became Brazil head coach, what were some of the issues that were waiting for him when he got there?
I think the issues for Brazil have always been that, there's that whole history of this is the team who are, you have the flair players, you have all of these players who often have grown up in South America playing that kind of very flamboyant way, and it's ingrained in the culture, and the idea is that you have to entertain when you're playing. It's not just about the sort of cold hard mathematics of winning. It's about producing football.
Like Spurs, right? It can't just be about right. It cannot always just be about winning.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the problem is that if you look at this team, they don't really have a huge amount of those kinds of players, right? Yeah. We're talking like Vinicius Junior, obviously like an incredibly talented player, an incredible dribbler, carrier, a goal creator, goal provider. But again, he's going to suit these scenarios where he can play directly. Same with Rafinha as well. Yeah. He's a dynamic player. You want to get these players playing at speed because that's where you're going to get the most out of them. Kaynak as well fits into that bracket also. Actually, the rest of the pitch, we're not talking about a huge amount of super technical, in possession, small space players that we might be talking about with some of the other big sides. And so I think it's really interesting that actually after one game, Ancelotti has found a way of bringing the best out of these players, the kind of profiles that they have. So it's going to be fascinating to see how they go for the rest of the World Cup.
Are there any other weaknesses? 'Cause I look at that defence and I'm not that familiar with it. In terms of a collective, I'm familiar with the individual players. What do you make of that so far? Particularly, probably against Morocco, because some of that looked a bit, I don't know whether it was just early tournament jitters, whether it was a lack of familiarity or cohesion. Didn't look that convincing to me.
Yeah, and I think, Casemiro, for example, is, as we said before on the tactics board, he was being expected to cover a huge amount of space.
Not a great cover of space, which is a great euphemism, by the way, for saying aging player.
Yeah,
nice.
sure.
Very well done.
And Bruno Guimaraes is a fantastic player as well. But like the amount of space that the two of them were expected to cover just didn't really work. We've seen that happening for Manchester United over the last few seasons as well, right? So it's not exactly surprising. And actually, this new system almost allows Casemiro to play as like a centre-back who pushes up in possession, right, and then drops back into that line, and he's got a bit more coverage in front of him, right? So again, this is about finding the solutions for some of those weaknesses. That's why I think that this approach worked quite well against Haiti. But I guess the big question is, okay, this is solving a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Is it going to solve enough problems for them to be good enough to go deep? And I think we're going to have to watch and wait and see them to play a better team before we can make that kind of judgment.
Lovely stuff. Would you like to come back to the set?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Ryan, you've been very distractingly playing PlayStation while we were doing really serious analysis.
Here we go. I was trying to get you guys ready to play against each other.
Does anybody want to see that, though?
Yes, everyone does indeed want to see this.
Two aging bald men playing PlayStation.
Well, I think this is what everyone wants to see, actually.
All right,
so,
do we have to...
Do you want to set it up with Seb?
Yeah.
Seb, do you want to come and sit on the sofa and I'll move out?
Okay. All right.
You're saying that as though I know what I'm doing, which I don't. Someone in the chat apparently has said that I've got better legs than the Brazilian midfield. So, do I need to put my trousers on because I know that they?
We actually said this before it started. We told you to pull shorts down a little bit because you were showing a lot of thigh. So.
It's true. I'll try and keep my legs lower.
You can cancel that and play offline.
You're in charge.
I'm in charge.
A couple of people, or maybe I saw it once.
I got some questions so that I can.
Well, someone said, "Where did Jon get that sweater from?"
Good question.
It will. They will probably be back on sale ahead of the new season.
This jumper is amazing.
Thank you.
By the way, the quality of this jumper is so much better than what you usually get when people make jumpers of this kind.
Thanks so much, man. That means a lot.
I've a very sort of sensory tactile thing about clothes. So that's the highest privilege I can bestow on a jumper.
This fawning is lovely, but can you move your hair?
Apparently I'm not playing. It's disappeared.
It's gone now.
Because was that what? Oh, we've gone.
Something.
Give it time.
Give it time.
Do I go across then?
You just go to the right there. There we go. Thank you, Jon.
Love that analysis, by the way.
Yeah?
Yeah, enjoyed that.
Is there any sort of commercial imperative about which teams we play as?
Yeah.
Club teams. Just club teams.
No? Okay.
Yeah, but randomise, I think. We were doing random.
You get three chances.
Yeah.
You get 3 chances to randomise. You can stick with any of them.
Okay,
but you can't go back. You only get 3. Yeah.
Okay, well, you go first.
Okay, I'm going Pisa.
And for those asking, JJ's in. No? Is JJ still in?
In Boston.
Boston.
Yeah. JJ, when I spoke to him last, was really happy, really excited, quite refreshed, I would say, just before kickoff. But then, obviously, within a few minutes of kickoff, things took a turn for the worse with Morocco scoring. What goal by Ismail?
Saibari.
Love it, Saibari.
Yeah, it was really nice.
I'm not going to be them either, so I've got one more.
Just while you guys are sorting out your teams,
okay,
just a quick,
You're going Al Shabab.
quick run through what we've
I'll go
got
with
doing,
then.
what we've got going on tonight. So we're going to have a live stream watch along of the Germany Ivory Coast game.
Yeah, that's a great game.
I'm really excited about this game.
Me too.
We will have Jon will spend the first. Are you doing the first half in the cupboard?
Yeah, I think I'll do the first half in the cupboard just to get a handle on the game, if that's okay.
So a really important detail that people should be aware of.
On as well.
As long as you come back with trousers on, fine.
When we selected our teams, Jon did not adjust his tactics, which is kind of
you're not supposed to really. We want a quick game, nice clean game.
No, I mean,
Ooh,
okay,
and we're off.
That was noisy.
The game belongs to the player, Seb. I don't need tactics.
Yeah, that's exactly that. Jon, when I'm online sometimes, I see people talking about relativism. What actually is that? At the moment,
Do you mean relationism?
Great.
Relativism, not relativism.
Relativism is a quite complicated scientific principle, I think.
We'll explain that too while we're at it.
What do you know about quantum mechanics?
Not as much as I might.
Do you know any tricks on this, by the way? I'm trying to work out what level you're
I
at.
know.
Oh,
I
sorry.
mean, yeah. Ooh, nice goal shape. They've gone with the triangles.
There will be a couple of people in the chat saying we'd love to see the whole gang together. There are going to be a few shows, I think, especially in the knockouts, where it'll be either 4 or 5 of the
I don't
the original
know.
gang.
There's too much tension. There's too much hatred in that group. Really, there's too many. There's too many. Difficulties. It's very hard to assemble everybody in the same place at the same time.
That's not true. But remember, there are cameras. And
I know, yeah, but I mean, people wanted an unvarnished, unfiltered Tifo experience, and There we go.
Seb Stafford brought Unleashed.
Post watershed.
Not yet. You've still got 34 minutes.
I'm still in German time, really. So
I didn't have you down as a crossfield ball lover.
I can imagine Seb loves a switch.
It's a Spielverlagerung, isn't it? That's what they call it. That's the right word, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Crossfield ball.
Well, yeah. I suppose if you were playing a shorter sideways pass, it'd be a queer pass, right?
Mm-hmm.
As in the old kind of denigration of Tony Kroos.
Ah, right.
Tony. Yeah.
Who do we feel like is going to be the next person to step up into that Tony Kroos role at Real Madrid? Let's say.
In what kind of time frame? Are we talking 5 years? Or?
I think we're talking like as soon as possible because they need someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
From a seniority point of view, from an actual player profile. I mean, replacing the player profile of Tony Kroos is almost impossible.
I think that would be my first answer. I don't know that there's going to be. I think you could replicate some of the package of skills, but I don't know that you're necessarily going to see exactly that player again.
I know he's a very different player, but do you think that's why they're going after?
Allegedly. Remember what we said about allegedly?
Apparently going after, is it Endo Fernandez they were supposed to go after? But
yeah,
I've heard like a lot of money for.
I also feel it's not the same player.
Who's this?
Not at all. Real Madrid.
They're under a lot of pressure to go for like everyone, aren't they?
Yeah, they've got a big sort of. I suppose you're not necessarily looking at kind of a player profile. You're looking at a personality and a kind of a draw, right?
Yeah. The game's changed though, right? Like that kind of player is much less, not less valuable, because I think they'll always be valuable, but like much less functional in the modern.
Explain that to me.
Well, I think the idea of having someone like Kroos who could like dictate build-up in that sort of tempo, slower way was very useful for a team like Real Madrid when they weren't necessarily always getting like valuable upside from their structure, so he could like solve a lot of problems. Whereas now I feel as though the game has changed to an extent that you're not doing a lot of that tempo stuff now. It's a lot more about being able to bump your way through like high presses and get in space behind. And
look guys, this is all great, but what everyone really wants to know is who's who. Who's going which way?
I'm left to right. I'm Al Shabaab in white, and John is Pisa in blue.
There you go. Sorry,
that's okay. Struggling to get out of my own half.
Yeah, I've instituted pretty effective mid-block that John is struggling to deal with.
It's a nice mid-block.
Thanks very much.
You're probably the best defensive player I've played against so far.
Oh, it's Seb the best
That's really great.
out of possession EAFC player in the Tifo game.
Like praise from Caesar.
How do you feel? Essentially,
everyone else was very, very open, I think. But
so how does it feel to essentially be the EAFC Mikel Arteta?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I didn't know where that sentence was going actually, but initially good, now dubious.
Oh.
Yeah. Right. That's not the best, John.
I tried to press tackle, and then apparently the ball arrived at my player, and he just completely yeeted it. So
it's a nice set piece.
That was a very modern set piece.
Going for the near post flip.
Someone in the chat said it's like late era Fleetwood Mac. John and Joe won't even travel together these days.
It's exactly that.
Yeah, well, it's important.
Separate planes.
Created great music though, despite that tension.
Exactly.
I think that's how the metaphor.
Which one's which? Who's Stevie Nicks? Is that Joe?
He's got the.
What's the other one? What's the other one called?
Ryan Buckingham.
Lindsay Buckingham.
Yeah. It's a nice little reset there.
You can go your own way.
Go your own way.
Banger, wasn't it?
Great tune.
So after this, John, are you going to do a little preview of?
Yeah, we'll get the teams up
Germany.
and we can have a chat. We've got some
team news.
German football experts in here, so you
Well,
don't need me
one.
to tell
Not
people.
literally one.
I quite like playing the Joe Devine character.
Do you?
It's quite. You feel quite powerful. Yeah, I can understand how we became like this.
What a turgid game!
I can understand how it happened.
This game is one for the purists. This is
It's nail
what
biting, fascinating tactical battle.
Spain, Sweden in the COVID Euros.
It's, Switzerland, Ukraine from.
That wasn't one for the purists. That was a game that
one
happened.
for the
That's
sickos. Yeah,
That's a bit that we've kind of like just started saying on Stadio for not great games. They're just games that happen. That was a game that happened.
Football that exists and occurs.
Why is Kai Havertz? Yeah, this is a good question. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, ref!
This doesn't feel like it's preview stuff, so we can chat about it now. Why is Kai Havertz so underrated by football fans in general?
Yeah, I think because he plays in a position where you expect a really, really literal output, and actually I think some of his best qualities aren't necessarily quite as measurable. He does nice things, he's an incredibly skillful player, but within the context of Nagelsmann's system, what he does is most important really because of what it allows Wirtz and Musiala to do, I think.
I think aesthetics as well, right? It's always the way, right? Why has he done that?
But also, why is that not a penalty?
Oh,
We haven't mentioned it yet either. We've got a guest coming up, Chris Evans, who wrote the book How to Win the World Cup.
Also, wrote a really good Don Revie book, I think, by the way.
He's going to chat to us about that, and he's also going to be your guest on the podcast, because you two and Chris are going to be doing the podcast tonight.
Why are you not doing the podcast tonight? You just can't be...
No, it's going to work. We're just going to play the game in front of us.
Okay. All right. A bit slack.
Sorry, mate.
Oh, come on.
You're worse than Joe.
Yeah. No, that's the thing.
I don't think I've ever seen the power go to someone's head quite as fast.
or dramatically.
Yeah. This is. You're even like, you're scaring the chat.
Nah.
They're like, hang on a minute, this isn't the Seb Stafford ball I know.
It's okay. I'll revert to type soon. Okay.
I like that someone said Kai Havertz is properly rated in my opinion. It's like Roberto Firmino's law, right? Someone who becomes, who is so underrated they actually become rated.
It becomes the thing to say.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, it's the Michael Carrick thing, I think, maybe.
Yeah, Michael Carrick was that kind of player as well.
Oh.
Oh, let's go.
What's he done? I literally pressed yeet then. It didn't. I pressed the yeet button.
Seb Stafford Bloor takes the lead.
No, don't play it to him.
Oh, it's just...
These players are so slow, aren't they? Like, I've been playing with better players and the response time is like...
What a ball that
very
is.
low.
Jon Mackenzie's post-match press conference is going to be like,
the players,
what do you expect with these
Everyone's going under the bus.
We need to improve in areas like passing, tackling, finishing.
Yeah. Recruitment, I think, is the area we need to improve in.
It's David Boy's press conference.
No.
So, how has Joe fared in this so far?
Not great. Not amazing. I think JJ's been the most successful.
JJ is a gamer. JJ is a real dark horse with... in fact, he's not a dark horse at all. He's exactly as good as you'd expect him to be, I think.
Oh, could be a goal back for...
Some excellent...
Your keeper, like, you're not even in control of your keeper and he's done it for you.
Nah, it's just
disgusting.
Hearing a lot of excuses.
Yeah.
My keeper's a pro.
Didn't even need your keeper there.
For someone who trusts the data so much.
I don't trust the data. You should never trust data. This idea that I'm a data guy, by the way, is really annoying.
Oof, turned yourself right into trouble there.
He was...
Counter press.
Someone said Red is getting bullied. John is the red player.
There isn't.
The
the
red,
goalkeeper.
the Reds.
Oh, I see. The little.
Yeah. What's everyone thinking about this? Oh, we had a poll as well. Who will win?
Wow.
And Jon came out on top.
That's ridiculous.
So
What, just in this game?
53% said that Jon will win this game.
Follow-up question. I want that. Why?
Yeah,
Let's do. Show you're working. Like polls, that's fine. You just tap a button. Explain yourself. Why?
Yep.
Why the lack of faith?
I mean, the winner in these games almost universally goes down to who's played this game the most, right? I haven't played this game very much.
No, I think it's about who understands the game better.
Okay.
And by the game, I don't mean the AFC. I just mean
football,
the game.
yeah.
Exactly. I should go into the nerd cupboard during the first half rather than you, I reckon.
Ref, he was all over me there.
We've got chants going in the chat.
Yeah, get ricked.
Also, have we come up with an explanation for why there was?
Actually, everyone's very, very quiet about that. Oh, someone said I trust in Jon's galaxy brain.
Okay.
Chose Jon based on vibes.
Yeah.
Seb, I find your lack of faith disturbing. Stafford Law.
Oh wow.
Someone said Seb is really embracing the Joe role.
That's what I wanted to hear. In a way, I'm kind of punishing him for leaving me with the responsibility.
Yeah.
I beat Joe. That's me done. I don't really care about what happens from now on. Well played.
Well played, everyone.
Good, sir.
There's a fun first.
So we play before and then at half
One
time?
at half time.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can play at half time.
Okay.
That's what that was.
In a sort of winner stays on type situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and fetch our guest because I think he's here.
Okay,
While
sure.
You guys chat about Germany. You can come back in.
I will come back into that
your
chair.
chair.
Yep. Okay.
I think I've got the finals correct. I believe it's the same Germany.
Same team.
Yeah. But quite a different Ivory Coast setup.
Yeah, so I suppose the headline change is Yandi Amande playing on the left rather than the right and Amad Diallo on the right. What'd you make of that?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched enough Diamande to know well enough whether or not he should play on the right or the left. I believe a lot of people think he's better off the left. Played off the right in the last game. What are your thoughts? Because you'll have watched him a bit at RB Leipzig.
Yeah, I like him on the right, but then part of that is because I prefer Antonio Nusa on the left when he plays for Ebi, and that's kind of the balance. But I think Diamande, that there's a debate at all about that is a really positive sign because I don't think he weakens. I think actually, I mean, he has a stronger side, but his left and right are kind of equally dangerous. If you're a defender, you can't push him towards the touchline. You can't push him inside because he can beat you off either foot. And I think actually he's one of those guys who you can stick him in the attacking third in any situation and he'll be an absolute menace just because there's so many attributes: skill, goal, threat. He accelerates. He can receive the ball at almost a standing start and accelerate very, very quickly and reach a high speed. He's just a nightmare. So I don't really have a preference, but I think it's about what exists around him and what balance he has inside and behind.
And also the areas, I guess, that both of these players are attacking in the wide areas. So you've got Ahmad going at Nathaniel Brown, Diamande going at Kimmich. Which one of those matchups are you more worried about?
I suppose originally it was Brown because Brown's in the team for his abilities in possession. So the reason he is being picked ahead of David Raum is because Raum's your orthodox, traditional fullback. He's going to be on the touchline. He's a crosser, good player. Brown's going to be more inverted. He's going to be the third member of central midfield. He's going to be the thing that Nagelsmann football needs, which is the numerical superiority through the middle.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that anybody at Eintracht Frankfurt has achieved a particularly high defensive standard this season. And the system is different as well. Eintracht are going to be playing with what we're playing with a back three. So let's see. Let's see. I mean, I'm not saying that he's not a good defender. It's just not the area of his game which has been the emphasis of the build up in Germany because it's just not it's not the issue they're trying to solve with his selection.
Yeah, and I guess that means then if Brown is coming inside, which we expect him to do, and he won't come in alongside really, he'll probably push slightly ahead, right? So you've got Pavlovic and Mecha here, and then Brown coming in, and I guess then that opens out this space for Ahmad to hit. So it's probably more a question of Schlotterbeck in those transition moments. But we talked a little bit before we went on air about Germany in transition. We said that this Germany team, I guess we talked about it a little bit in terms of trade-offs, right? That they are going to be very aggressive, as you say, getting Brown forward and having these overloads in the central parts of the pitch does leave you exposed in these wider areas. And if you're using, I mean, Schlotterbeck, I think he is a good large space defender, but he also has mistakes in him. Kimmich as well, right? He's being asked to do a lot as well in those wide areas. How do you feel about this? Because I think that do we see this as a game where actually the Ivory Coast might try and hit them in transitional moments because of not only the structural sort of reality, but some of the players that the Germans have on their team. I mean, Pavlovic as well, not exactly an expansive like large space player in defensive moments too.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, if you were the Ivory Coast and you looked at Germany's weaknesses over, goodness, I would say almost 6, 7, 8 years, that kind of transcends different squads and tournaments. And you would look at your own strengths. So a lot of very skillful, very direct, quick players with a lot of attacking expression and ability. That's the matchup, right? It makes sense. And the Pavlovic thing. Pavlovic, I think, will grow into one of the best orchestrators in Europe over the next 2 or 3 years. What he's not is a hatchet man and a ball winner. He's not that player. Yeah. Nemecha isn't that either. He's, Nemecha is such a gifted carrier, an attacking threat. Not really, he's not a linchpin. He's not going to secure your midfield. And so, yeah, like what you're saying is basically we prioritize chance creation over chance limitation. And so if you're the Ivory Coast, you have to attack that because that's the trade-off that you're being asked to take advantage of. So yeah, but I also think, God, is that Ibrahim Sangare? That's just a flashback there.
Yeah.
Old Tifo world, yeah.
Sorry, with a trigger warning, yeah.
Miss you, Alex. But it's one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to the game is because whenever you have that sort of almost quite binary relationship between the two teams, but you can see the back and forth of the contest. It should be a good game, right?
Yeah, I think so. The other thing you mentioned was this desire to get players central and narrow. Often the phrase that's used is minimum width. So, and by minimum width, we're distinguishing from maximum width, right? So maximum width is the idea that you'll have your two wide players basically touchline hugging to drag the opposition back line as wide as possible.
So that would be maximum width.
This is maximum width, yeah. So minimum width, I guess, is a little bit more about, it's the idea that I always use when I talk about it is like you're still playing with width, but you're playing with the narrowest width possible in order to get advantages from that. And so, yeah, this is something that we'll see the German team doing. Although I did know when I was watching the Curaçao game back before, they do still use maximum width at times. There are going to be situations where they are going to want to drag the opposition lines open, especially when you've got, if you've, I did it, let's say Brown does go high and wide and you've got Wirtz coming in here, you've got Musiala able to come through both of these. Those are the sorts of scenarios that you're going to create with spreading these back lines out. But then the minimum width, I guess, is some of the ideas we've talked about with Argentina. We talked a little bit about the US men's national team as well. This ability to actually overload in the centre and have your players positioned in such a way that you can almost punch through opposition blocks. Right. So if let's imagine that the opposition are sitting in some kind of block like this, the ability to have these players ahead of ball carriers, maybe move everyone up a position, sorry. But you have your primary ball carrier, and then you have the players lining up in between with their body positions in such a way that they can receive. Some of them will be able to receive the ball into them from backwards, but the others will have open positions, so you can play third man combinations into players who can then just punch it quick, one touch passing through the lines.
Just walk the audience through third man combinations, just for those who don't quite understand the concept.
Yeah, so the third man combination is basically the next evolution from like a 1-2 pass, right? So if a 1-2 is just you pass to one person and move and then receive receive it, that's a 1-2. Whereas a third man combination is basically a 1-2-3, right? So the idea would be, let's say Tar wants to pass it to Pavlovic here. He can't go directly through because Ulai is in the way. One way that you can solve that problem is by bouncing it via Schlotterbeck and having those third man combinations. Often in these more central situations, what you will see is, again, Pavlovic isn't accessible to Tar here, but Musiala is accessible to Pavlovic. So if Musiala can get into a position where he can receive it and play the third man combination, you then get through the lines. And what you'll see is often by overloading in these central areas, you can build almost chains of those combinations in order to quickly punch through lines of pressure from the opposition. But the problem is that it does sometimes leave you weakened. If it goes wrong, you're playing into often like overloaded areas. If you lose the ball, in theory, yes, you should be able to counter press quite well because you should have good access to the ball. Yeah. But if the opponent can actually work out these counter press moments, let's say that Ahmad now is in space or Diomande is running in space and they manage to get the ball out and into the channel, you can be a little bit more open, which is why I think there are those transition questions with the German national team.
Do you think it's a balance issue? We, Philipp Lahm, the former Germany national team captain and World Cup winner, said, he was doing a column for The Athletic, and he said, the problem with Germany is not how they defend individually, because I know a lot of people focus on, for instance, Nico Schlotterbeck's abilities without the ball. Does Jonathan Tah have enough pace when he's one-on-one? Are there enough sixes in the team in the traditional sense? It's not that. It's what the team does as a collective without the ball. Is Philipp Lahm wrong, John?
Well, the classic example is the Bayern PSG semi-final, the first leg of that semi-final, right? Where I think there was a lot of people saying, there was two sides, right? Some people saying, can't you make decisions to make your defensive task a little bit easier? And there was the other side of the argument was, and Vincent Kompany came out on this side of the argument basically saying, we're making this as a trade-off decision. We're going to go man-to-man across the pitch in order to simplify things down. Well, because if you try and defend structurally, you can still get taken apart by really, really high-quality players. Is the argument? So the sort of outlay of that kind of argument is, well, if you go man-to-man across the pitch, you're doing your best to stop the opponent, but you're also simplifying the task down a little bit. So I think that's what's going on here, really. They're not going to go full man-to-man across the pitch, I don't think. They may do. But this is a lot more about this idea of saying, we think that the upsides of attacking in this way will be greater than the downsides of defending in this way. And I think that's where we're getting to in sort of modern tactical theory. It used to be the case that everyone would say, we need to have these structural zonal defences. We can build these structures that will be able to get us out of any problem. But I think there's a realisation now, particularly at the elite level, if you have so many great attacking players, it's almost a waste to just stick them in a structure and say, we're going to make sure we don't give up any space, rather than saying, let's get our Amads and our Diamandes and into dangerous situations, and Bonnie as well, this striker who's, I think, only recently joined, what do you call it when you declare? Is that what you do? You declare for a nationality. When you have these exciting players, do you want to waste them?
Joined a nationality.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, you want them, as we said before, you want to get these exciting players engaged in the game. You don't want to worry too much about Ahmad and Diomande maybe doubling up in the wide areas. You just say, okay, we'll leave our fullback exposed potentially and get our players further up. We just talked about Brazil doing the same with Vinicius and Rafinha, right? And we saw on the screen the very obvious upsides of that if you do win the ball back, then suddenly these guys are in a really nice, what we call rest attack position, right? Where actually if you win the ball back and you're defending, are your players well positioned to be able to produce good chances? And so, yeah, that's the trade-off that's going on.
Rest attack?
Yes.
I didn't realise there was a...
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what rest defence is, right? It's like how you structure yourself. I know what rest defence is. I worked for Tifo for a very long time before I moved over. So it's just the other side of that.
Correct
right? It's the other side. It's the other side of that. It's thinking about the position of your attackers when you're defending, so that if you win the ball back, you're advantageous
to take advantage of the transition. Hey, so while John and I have been nattering, we've been joined by Ryan, who's back, and Chris. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm going to make you introduce yourself. That's what Joe would do. He would say, introduce yourself. Who are you?
Put me on the spot and introduce me. So I guess, so I am a journalist, but I'm kind of freelance by nature. Just I am.
That makes it sound like you don't make friends easily, or
yeah. Well, that's it. I'm very transient. So I do most of what I do is with 442, doing a variety of little bits here and there with others. But 442 I've done for well over 10 years. But I think that what's probably biggest reason why I'm here. So I've got a book, How to Win the World Cup, which originally came out in 2022. Yeah, see, look, this is it. Bloomsbury, you're happy about this.
All the cameras, Chris.
All the cameras, right. Yeah. No, I've done this before, actually, with a different book, and they didn't tell me which camera I was on. So the actual, when I got on there, it was me showing the pages on their own. How to Win the World Cup. So that came out in 2022. We then updated it for this tournament to come out in paperback. So that's focusing on kind of like the secrets and insights from top international managers, I suppose. So it's kind of what the secret sauce is that kind of takes you from kind of like, a group of players that have got a chance to one that kind of gets over the line.
Right.
Although obviously the managers can't account for luck as well, which kind of comes into it. But there's a whole load of things, talking to a whole number of managers, players, people who've kind of been there over many different decades. So yeah.
Nice.
Welcome.
Yeah, man.
Welcome. Hey, what have you made of the World Cup so far, Chris?
I think it surprised me that it's been as watchable as it has. I mean, me along with everyone else, I think it's been very kind of cynical about the bigger group stage, and what was that going to be like? Was that going to kind of mean that everyone was going to be really slow and just kind of try and get to 3 points or get within there? But I think there's been quite a lot of good games, haven't there? Lots of goals, and I think I've kind of, as it's gone on, you feel it a little bit more, I suppose, and I think I do think that when we get to the round of 32, that's going to be chaos, isn't it? I think. But
yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to some jeopardy. Like I think the standard of football's been really good, and the level of competition within individual games, even when it's not sort of tier 1 nations playing each other, I think the standard's been really good and really engaging. But I am getting to the point where I want a little bit of tread in the football and a little bit of nervousness, and and I suppose we're starting to get that in the second round a little bit. So that's been cool.
It's interesting you mentioned the sort of format impact on the games. It's kind of game state, really, right? Yeah. We don't really talk about it as game state.
Stop trying to nerd it.
But there's a few games, right, where it felt like both teams were already through.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't really a huge amount to play for, and we're going to get a few games like that, right? I think there's two things here. One is that obviously a lot of third place teams go through. But the other thing is that because you don't know who's going to go through in which third place slot, and there's so much permutations, there's 495 permutations, there's almost no way you can really game the structure of where you're going to end up. And anyone could be on either side, to the extent that it feels like there's no one even doing that thing where they're like, oh, well, if we finish first, we know we're going to get...
But John, that's a strength. That's a strength, because it's a very boring conversation, and it comes around. and there's always that thing where some typically British tabloids says something like, oh, well, we should lose to this so that we can face this nation who we perceive to be weaker, and that blows up in everybody's face. So that we've avoided the conversation and the humiliation is terrific.
We were talking about it the other day, though, and it reminds me a little bit of the early stages of the first Champions League phase, where, was it James Horncastle, I think, was talking about something Carlo Ancelotti said, where like all of the managers, like he used to know how to navigate a Champions League group. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, do we rest early on? Right. And I think you actually saw a difference last season and the season before in how a number of teams attacked the early stages of that Champions League group phase. League phase? It's a league phase, right? I hate Champions League phase. Yeah, it's weird, right?
Very clunky. At least it's an actual league now. I guess it wasn't a league before, right? So it's even worse.
But maybe it's the same thing in the World Cup. Just people, I mean, if you're a good side aiming to win the group, you can get it done. You're kind of just like, all right, chill, rest, rotate. But then again, how is that going to impact you down the line with how the...
I did actually speak to an analyst who's working for one of the countries in the World Cup about this. And he said, there's basically nothing... We've tried to analyse like what our most likely routes are, but essentially there's especially if you're a kind of a mid-table nation, as it were, it's very, very hard to know what the permutations are actually going to iron out as. So they'll have sort of percentage likelihoods of what route they're going to get. But I think they're so broadly spread out that everything sort of works out as very, very minor percentile differences between them.
Speaking of not knowing which way the route will be, a number of new people joining saying, "Where is Joe? No Joe tonight. He's having a night off."
He just couldn't be bothered. I mean, we were sat in the studio at about 6. Ryan, John, we'd ordered some food for Joe, and he just never showed up. And then
John had cooked.
John cooked
a roast dinner as well.
Yeah.
He
With lots of potatoes.
Vegetarian roast.
Yeah,
brought in
it
his
was
Tupperware.
Tofu beef Wellington.
And then, I called him, and he said some hurtful things, frankly. And then he didn't show up, and he said that you should host. And I was like, I will. And here we are.
He took his football home with him as well.
And he did. Yeah.
Allegedly.
Joe will be back tomorrow. Joe's having a well-deserved night off.
Yes.
He's having a bit of a rest. It's a long old tournament, and I think had we tried to replicate some of the every night live streams that we did in 2022 and before then, I think that might have ended Joe. I think he needs to pace himself. So he'll be back tomorrow.
And much like the managers, who I'm sure we're going to be talking to Chris about later, who have trying to keep their squads fresh throughout the tournament, as fresh as possible. So are Tifo and Joe Devine. He's got to rotate, but he will be back tomorrow.
He'll be back.
But that is interesting though, because as we've seen, Seb Stafford-Bloor stepping into the hot seat and seeing a different side of him.
Yeah,
it's like when you play someone in a central role, move them in off the wing, and they're like, oh,
so
let him cook.
Yeah, look what he can do. That's really interesting. Yeah, he has more versatility than we assumed.
He's the host who stepped up. That's how I like to think of him.
You know what's interesting about the live streaming is that the silences are okay. The silences
that don't
are
go
okay.
on too long.
There's definitely a point beyond which they become uncomfortable and you think, oh God, I should say something. But initially you can just, let's see. I tell you what, let's see how much silence we can bear.
Should we put Chris's book on the shelf?
This is the first time I've been on,
Sorry.
so don't sit here for 10 minutes.
No.
I won't be able to deal with it.
Should we put Chris's book on the shelf?
Yeah.
This space, we're going to build it up through the tournament.
Centre, look at that.
Oh, there you
So
go.
where's your book? No, yeah.
It's not out yet.
Oh, is it not? Is it?
Not
I thought
quite
it was out, yeah, is it not?
No, not yet.
I knew it was
August
close.
20th.
Oh, fine.
But I'm
okay.
glad you brought it up because people accuse me of bringing it up a lot.
What's your book called, John?
My book, as Joe would like to tell you, is called Harry Potter and the Spectre of Pep. But it's just called The Spectre of Pep. How Guardiola haunts the history of modern football tactics. I've done something
Much like Joe Devine haunts
yeah.
this
very
live stream
room.
that he's not even on. Someone asked, does no Joe tonight mean no jokes are bad?
Yes.
No, it doesn't.
Doesn't it?
No.
Oh, no.
Got one
That was
especially.
the main plus though.
We've got one especially for you
Right, okay.
that you have to read out.
Okay.
And a late fitness test on the second joke for the hydration break. So Joe's been writing jokes through the very much a kind of Norm Macdonald thing for the hydration breaks. And usually he gets the guests to read them out. But I think because he's not here, we'll get Seb to do one and John to do the other.
I'm going to go to the tactics cupboard in a minute.
Oh, yeah, you are.
Is that all right? I'll come in for the drinks break.
Yeah. Get in there before the anthem so you can...
Yeah. Should I do that? Get in the headspace. Yeah. I've got to recite the analyst's prayer before the games.
Everyone say bye to John. He's going into the tactics cupboard and he's going to come back.
He's being banished. John, get out. Go on.
No, he's not. He prefers it. It's like...
Quicker. Get out.
The tactics cupboard for John is like it's the comfort of the bucket for Bielsa.
Sweet shop for 12-year-old me. Yeah.
I must admit, when I heard when Jay wasn't going to be on, I was sad that I was going to hear the jokes in the flesh. So I'm glad someone's still here.
Yep.
I particularly enjoyed the Haaland one the other night, actually.
Oh, I can't even remember. Oh yeah.
Like the funniest theme park or something like that, was it?
That's it. Yeah, Joe's. I find that what I love about Joe's jokes is that you have to explain all of them, which makes them.
I actually
way
got
funnier.
that one when I just think it's a good job that Jack Butland doesn't play for England anymore, to be honest. So.
I'm really hyped about this game.
Me too. I'm really looking forward to it.
Do we have any predictions in the chat? Who's gonna win? Seb, do you have any predictions?
I think it'll be a draw.
Think it'll be a draw.
I'll go 2-2. Yeah, I'll go 2-2. I don't trust the German defence.
I think I'll go Germany 2-1.
Germany 2-1.
Do you feel? Do you feel much attachment? You lived in Germany for a long time. Do you feel an attachment to the national team?
Not really, but I don't feel attachment really to the England
much.
team either.
I mean, it feels like you're just a generally dislocated guy. Okay.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, I like to see players I like do well.
Right.
You know, and I don't really like. For example, the other night when we were watching the England game, I think we all need to talk closer to our mics. By all accounts, we're all a bit quiet.
Okay. Is the chat criticising?
Apparently,
the chat can be really unkind like that.
But I'm just, we'll try and cater to that. Yeah, Joe was. That's the biggest kind of fan I've seen Joe. Like as much of a fan as I've seen Joe. 1 sec, Don. Do you need a sink or? Oh no, you're fine. Nice one, man. Whereas I don't get like that about England actually, so much.
No.
And for example, like, the 2014 Germany side, I loved because of Mesut Ozil and Per Mertesacker, who were both Arsenal players, and a couple of other players that I just really liked in that squad. I kind of like to see Spain do well as well, usually.
Okay. Why is that, just generally?
I don't know. I think it's just usually a vibe, right?
Okay.
Are you like an England kind of all in?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say I'm all in. I'm not, I'm not draping a flag out my window, but yeah, like, I think
coming in like a Crusader costume.
Hey, but that's also fine. Like, you can support your national team. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, no, look, I'm here for England. Look, you do kind of get behind other teams as the tournament goes on, right? But I think while England are there, I mean, they're my number one. I remember when Wales got to the semi-finals of the Euros, I was really happy to see how they were getting on. You kind of get behind those, but it's actually when they got to the semi-finals, that's when I suddenly thought, oh, hold on, they could gazump England here, and that's when it's kind of turned a little bit. But yeah, I don't think there's anybody other than England in this tournament right now, but let's see how they get on.
I remember being at the last Euros actually desperately wanting Turkey to go as far as possible because the neighborhood that we're in Berlin is a there's a lot of Turkish people in like our building on our street and stuff like that, and also just the vibe when Turkey play and won, it was amazing. When
Turkey win things, or when like Turkish clubs win championships, the way that kind of the diaspora like reacts in Germany is. I remember actually. Do you remember when Dortmund lost the Bundesliga title on the very last day? When we went 2-2 against Mainz. So I had to go to Dortmund probably about 3 or 4 days later just to do some bits and pieces, and I was there one night, and I think Galatasaray had just won a title, and so the entire Turkish population were out on the streets, horns. You're thinking, if you're a Dortmund fan living in Dortmund 3 days after that Mainz game, you probably don't need that. But it's an amazing spectacle. Yeah, it really is. It's it's such a shame.
Fireworks going off and all kinds of stuff. It was amazing.
So I was in Berlin a few weeks ago, and Galatasaray had won the league then.
Oh yeah.
I'd gone for dinner, and I had no idea what was going on. Walking back to the hotel, and there's all people I thought, what's going on the street? And it was only when you see all the Gala crests, that's when it suddenly dawned on me that what must be going on. So it caught me by surprise.
It's an amazing thing to be around. It's joy, I suppose, is nice to be around.
Just nice to be around joy. But I think that's the thing about football, right? Because I think, especially if you work in football as well or around it, it can be quite easy to be pulled into, there's a chance here.
I think that's the ball for the Ivory Coast.
Ivory Coast corner. Oh, no, it's given offside and pulled back. But yeah, like it can be quite easy to become cynical or jaded, especially because of all of the horrific and horrible stuff that goes with football, especially modern football. I think when you see those moments of actual joy, I'm an Arsenal fan, and obviously Arsenal winning the league this year, and I went to the parade, and it was genuinely one of the one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in my life and ever been around, and just it's just great. It reminds you of how great football can be, despite all of the horrible shit that's horrible stuff. Sorry, that goes with it.
I think over time, I think if you report on football, you lose a little bit of your fandom. I think increasingly I find myself rooting for good things to happen to the good people I know. So I live in Germany. I don't feel a lot of attachment to the German national team, but they mean a lot to a lot of people that I know.
Yeah.
It's important they do well. Therefore, kind of from that angle, I want the best for them. And that's that on a professional sense as well, because people who not necessarily dependent on their results, but who have an interest in them, but also, family and stuff. And it's a good thing for the country. And I suppose that, but it's an interesting thing.
Just to clarify, someone in the chat was like, "What the hell is this? Don't support England." No, obviously we support England, but it's not. I don't support them as much as it doesn't affect me in the way that, say, like a club football does. I think I want them to do well, but it's not the same. But I think that what is great about international football is that it gives a lot of people who maybe support clubs who aren't historically successful, or who progress deep into tournaments, like a real chance to get behind a team that can as well. So I think it's...
I do get really involved in England games as they go through a tournament. Yeah. And also what's been really fun about this generation is particularly probably between about 2000 and 2014, Sporting England was pretty joyless, not just because of the results, but I just, there was something about it which didn't grab me. But I like the current group of players. It's been really fun to watch England in some really, really important games again, like semi-finals, finals, and not just be the quarter-final team with lots of famous players. That it felt like it was boring because it felt like you had the same conversation after every single tournament with England for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's great. I'm really excited for what England might do in this World Cup.
I think it's also just how the dynamic of the squad changes, right? And I feel like I think a similar thing happened with Germany in 2014. I think a lot of younger people younger people in Germany recognise maybe more of their friend group in the squad, And I think a similar thing has happened with England over the last 10 years or so specifically. And I think it's been cool to see people engage in the national team again.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually. I think it was ARD are a public broadcaster in Germany. They released their viewing figures for the Curaçao game, and they were 23.5 million viewers or sets on, whatever the metric is. And that was a 70% audience share. And it was actually, it was more than double the amount of people who watched the first game in Qatar.
Wow.
Which is really great because obviously there are different reasons for that, and the disengagement about Qatar is its own story, and it's probably its own podcast series, but good to see people getting involved again. And actually, I only came over yesterday. There's a lot of flags on cars, a lot of kind of promotional stuff in shops, a lot of people sort of really engaging with it, which is nice.
My favourite thing I've seen so far in terms of German World Cup fever is the World Cup lettuce, which is great.
That was from Riva or Penny, I think. Yeah. But that's the thing, right? I was saying to my wife, what is the effect of spending money on the new branding material? So you've got your normal lettuce, and instead of the normal packaging, you create a sort of hexagon-shaped packaging around it to turn it into a World Cup lettuce. What is the extra value you achieve, or is it just the taking part?
I mean, it gets people in the mood, and it's not like the lettuce is going to last longer than the World Cup.
I also put that lettuce on the New York Times website essentially. So
there you go. You did Ravers promo for them. Yeah.
Well, you're talking about a lettuce, aren't
exactly. You talking about a lettuce on a Tifo.
Wouldn't even get a mention otherwise.
Joe would be so proud.
I've been guerrilla marketed. Brilliant. Very nice.
It is interesting they went for a lettuce, though, wasn't it? I suppose there were other things they could have gone for, but they obviously lumped for the lettuce.
Yeah.
So.
My wife found some
Chance from
the sort of the spray cream you use for like desserts and stuff, and they had added a referee, and instead of spraying the free kick marker, the referee was just spraying cream, foamy cream into his mouth. That was a bit of branding.
Someone in the chat said lettuce, or letters. A lettuce, as in the green salad.
As in the salad accompaniment. Yeah. So behind the scenes, I'm doing a little bit of a match briefing for the Athletic. So I'm going to drop in and out of the conversation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, in that case then, Chris, what's been your moment of the tournament so far?
My moment of the tournament. I mean, look.
I know it's a bit of a...
If I was going to put, I would say that 15 minutes at the beginning of the second half for England would be where it kind of, because I think that was where, you talk about what it is that you like about World Cups, but it's that sort of excitement. And I suppose you, as an England supporter, you feel it then, because you kind of think, hold on, I've never seen anything like this. I know some people have kind of compared it to 96 against the Dutch, but I remember watching that, but I think I was 8.
They really turned the screw, didn't they? It felt like they'd really...
Yeah. Certainly as a football watcher, more than kind of just like seeing it going around, that's the best 15 minute spell I think I've ever seen England play, or certainly I can remember. Although comparing it to a lot of the other tournaments previously probably does, there's not a load to pick from. But yeah, that got me off my seat. I do think that, said earlier about how I think when it gets to the knockouts, I think there's going to be so many big moments that regardless of which country it is, it's going to happen. I do think that's one thing we're going to benefit from when we get there, is that those 2 knockout rounds, the first lot, and you've got a lot of smaller nations in there still. I think they're going to be incredible.
Sorry, gassed then, because that was a chance for Ivory Coast. Just in case people want to follow on with where we're at. So we're on a bit of a delay because we're streaming it, and then you also have a little bit of a YouTube delay. But the clock in the corner of our screen is where we're at. So if you wanted to sync up, if you're able to, and you wanted to sync up where we're at, you can go ahead and do that. I think that someone in the chat actually mentioned it. I think I'd agree. I think the Messi hat trick has been probably, like, in terms of a superstar moment. There were obviously other moments like the Cape Verde draw, and also, to be honest, I think like the Netherlands-Japan game, like the late Japan equaliser felt like a moment.
The Qatar equaliser. That was an amazing moment, with Muriel Muheim getting beaten at the back post.
But specifically the tap-in goal from Messi felt, I don't know, it's kind of like, it was like, almost you can tap, like do a tap in like that.
Yeah,
very well.
Joe and I were talking about this in the Tifo WhatsApp group, and he said, like, even when he scores a tap in better than anybody else in the world would. Wrong foot, elegant, classy, like he was never ever going to miss. It was it was a wonderful moment.
I think for me, the bit that lost is, I mean, I know it's kind of like the whole thing that people are talking about the times, but because that happened during the night, I woke up, and actually the first thing I saw was there was one of the breaking news Athletic emails that had said Messi scored a hat-trick. So,
wow.
You kind of see it like that. Good plug. But without kind of seeing it live, I suppose I would then watch the highlights, not long afterwards. But it's not quite I perhaps didn't get the full Messi experience, I would say. And I think, perhaps that's the one downside, that if it happens during the night, it's very difficult to capture it in quite the same way. I even find when I've tried to avoid results and watch highlights or watch live games afterwards, you still kind of, in your head that it's not live.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've kind of managed to avoid spoilers for all of the games that I've missed overnight and caught them the next day, which has been good.
I'd actually intended to avoid the Argentina spoiler. I was going to watch that in the morning. So I've just plugged the Athletic, but actually, the emails there, I thought emails were safe.
Just have like a spoiler alert warning.
Yeah.
Looks like Nico Schlotterbeck's got a problem. He rolled his ankle. want to tackle that. Also, I'd say early stages, Diamante's getting a lot of space in behind Kimmich, but I do wonder if that's probably because he's not been playing right back a huge amount, has he? If at all.
I've been told to stop moving my mic quite a lot. I'm going to. I will return to the conversation.
Okay, sorry. Seb's got. Sorry, everyone. Seb's got serious work to do.
Yeah.
Do you think it's interesting to see how they get on there today, Germany? Because I think that it wasn't a real. So it's not a real test, but you won't see the best of them, will you? I suppose. So it's. I am fascinated to see how much of the real deal they are today, because Ivory Coast are a good side, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this Germany team. Like I did one of those predictor things, just like the bracket or whatever, and I had them go into the final, but I don't know whether that's. I mean, that doesn't mean anything, but I also think that they're just one of those sides that. I mean, I'm trying to think back to when they won it in 2014. They beat Portugal in the opening game, but then they drew the second game, and I think underwhelmed a little bit. They had that knockout game, one of the early knockout games, that was quite controversial. I think it went to extra time, and it was when Per Mertesacker gave this really legendary post-match interview in German about basically being like, "What do you want from me? Like, I'm knackered," you know. And not a lot of people fancied them to win it in 2014. Then obviously the Brazil game happens. So I feel like they're not probably being talked about as much among people as I would expect them to. But then I don't know. I always find it quite tricky picking who's going to win World Cups.
I mean, in 2014, were they not? They weren't fancy because they come close, hadn't they? But not. They looked. They perhaps hadn't got that little bit of substance, wasn't it? And I think they probably weren't as exciting, were they? But they. Actually, I write about that in the book that Jogi Löw, part of that was that he learnt to win rather than trying to blow teams away, and he actually became a little bit more pragmatic, which is perhaps why they weren't. You don't look at them and think they were destined to win all the way through that tournament.
No.
But they kind of did the job, and that's almost what when they'd been better under Löw they hadn't done previously. I think.
It's quite a common thing in tournaments, though, isn't it? I can't remember the last time a team went into the tournament being overwhelming favourites and then didn't have a single hiccup through the tournament. Good chance there. It was Jamal Musiala. Shot just from just outside the box, went wide. We are watching the game, but just in case people don't realise, we can't show the game. We are not allowed to show the game. You can watch it on your relevant rights holder and listen to this alongside it. There's a good chance that, Someone said dark horse material. This Germany. Are they ever really dark horses, Germany?
I was going to say, can Germany be a dark horse?
Maybe.
I mean, it's here.
Just a horse.
I did hear they'd a little bit of the post-match for the Sweden-Netherlands game on the BBC, and they'd said how there were, are Netherlands one of the 17 dark horses that there are? So I don't think we can include Germany in that. They're just they're perhaps standing in the shadows a little bit alongside Spain and Portugal and the likes.
Yeah, Portugal, interesting one. How does everyone feel about Portugal? Well, I keep saying everyone, but Seb's doing emails or something. How have you found that? Or how did you find that first game with Portugal? And
I mean,
as someone who has obviously written about how to win the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, after 5 minutes, it looked brilliant, didn't it? And you kind of wondered, especially day after Germany, Spain had struggled. Germany had then hit 7 against Curacao as well, and you got Portugal there scoring. You kind of think, well, how many are we going to get here? but I think actually one of the chaps I did was around like managing star players, and clearly that is, I think universally everyone seems to think that's what the key is for Portugal, and how Roberto Martinez is going to deal with that. I mean, it feels as though all the rhetoric, everything he's talking about, he doesn't look like dropping Ronaldo is imminent, because he seems to be talking him up a lot, doesn't he? And I think that's the danger, I suppose, is what's the damage if he does leave Ronaldo on the bench, and does he think that's going to have more of a negative impact than leaving him on standing up front? I think that's going to be the key. I mean, it does. I mean, we talk about always, everyone's talking about Ronaldo, but ultimately it is whether this works or not is going to come down to the manager. It's going to come down to Martinez, right?
Someone who's in your book, right?
He is, yes. I spoke to him for an awfully long time, actually, for that. He was very, very generous with his time, and he's a fascinating guy. Like, he's always...
deflected chance there. Was that from Mecha?
Yeah.
Very similar position to the goal he scored in the first game, right?
Yeah, he was a brilliant chatting, but I mean, I did the first edition came out in 2022, and that's when I did the interview with Martinez prior to that. So I think I did benefit. I think he was doing a Champions League game, and I think he was in his hotel room, so he had lots of time, probably not talking to many people. So he was incredibly generous this time, and probably could have written a book on Roberto Martinez, to be honest with you. But yeah, it was interesting, and he was saying that actually when we talk about Jogi Löw and the way that Germany progressed to win the World Cup.
They're going to give that as a foul.
Should be, yeah.
It's a foul. Germany have the ball in the back of the net, but it's a foul on the goalkeeper from Pavlovic. Good ball in from Joshua Kimmich.
I'm returning to the chat.
Seb's back. You can't do that to the Tifo faithful.
I don't think he's done anything wrong.
I don't
think that should
actually.
stand.
His arm's up, isn't it?
Oh,
his
yeah,
face.
maybe, yeah, that
okay,
angle, yeah.
Sorry, that angle shows, yeah.
There was one very, very deceptive angle before the show.
It's the left arm, right? He goes kind of between his hands. He's disrupting his ability to make the catch. I think that's fair enough.
Did look like Fofana got caught as well.
Someone in the chat asked whether Mats Hummels is part of the German backroom staff. No, he's working for Magenta TV during the World Cup. So he's doing some punditry, doing it well as well.
Yeah,
he's pretty good.
He was doing. What was he doing in the Champions League, or was he doing Sky Germany?
I think he was doing Amazon
DAZN.
or DAZN. He did some bits
Amazon.
around Dortmund games.
I thought he was good.
Yeah, he's very good.
Oh yeah, because wasn't it him and Kramer? Yeah.
No, it's Mertesacker and Kramer.
Oh.
And then the big pairing is Jurgen Klopp and Thomas Müller with Laura von Tore on Magenta. And then yeah, it's pretty good. A lot of people don't like them. They've actually become a meme in Germany.
Müller and Klopp.
Yeah.
Oh, you wrote a great thing about this. Can you summarize it for people who might have missed it? Because I found this really interesting.
They're kind of doing, I suppose, for British fans and people who watch the Premier League, they're kind of doing what Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher do on Sky. They're leaning into
Klopp
sort
and
of
Müller.
Yeah, but it's Klopp and Müller, and they're having fun. It's a bit loose. They're being very like they wear replica shirts to games. They stand and link arms to the national anthem. So that they're leaning into that, and yeah, it's caused a bit of a stir, especially because during one of the early episodes, Klopp was asked to name his team, and he left out Jamal Musiala and said, "I want to start Dennis Undav instead." Undav from Stuttgart, and then when he finished his segment, he said, "Well, it's just lucky. Julian Nagelsmann is still the Bundestrainer for now." And then everyone's like, "That's kind of weird." And then he said it again, "For now." And it became like this sort of 3-4 day nightmare, massively tedious media cycle. And Klopp eventually apologized, but he caught some grief from Stefan Effenberg, Andreas Müller, Lothar Matthäus. Never shy of an opinion, that trio of gentlemen, right? But yeah, it's fun. It's a change of pace. If you want the serious analysis, it's out there. But it's I've enjoyed it.
Someone asked him why Nicholas Zula retired. Retired very early. Was he 32?
Younger, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I don't.
He suffered another serious injury, didn't he? And
he just had enough.
He was basically like, that's it.
He's
30. He's only 30. Wow.
He did an interview on the Spielmacher podcast, and he said after that last injury, which I think he suffered against Hoffenheim, during which he also conceded a penalty. It's got to be pretty tough. He was in the shower in the dressing room afterwards and just broke down in tears, and it was his kind of it's over moment.
Yeah.
But he seemed liberated by the decision, to be honest.
Yeah, I think a lot of players do when they retire early. Saw it with Andreas Schürrle as well, right? When he just...
Yeah.
Oh.
He's back.
He's back. John's back from the cupboard. And I need to go and get Joe's joke. Hydration break joke.
Oh, yeah, we are at the first hydration break. Okay.
So I will be back in a second.
Okay. John.
Hello.
What have you made of the first half of the first half? I'm not calling it the first quarter.
We should do it in thirds. The second ninths.
Yeah.
First 2 ninths. Yeah, I think it's been a fun game. I think it's clear that Germany are like very tetchy about giving up too much space. So they're definitely trying to sit a little bit deeper and then generate transition moments either through just regular transitions or through still baiting the Ivory Coast press up. I think they've used Nathaniel Brown quite interestingly in that way. There's a lot of combinations happening in that side of the pitch where they're trying to get him in behind.
The underlap seems to be working.
Yeah,
well.
yeah, and also getting him in the space between the midfield and the back line, and doing the sort of quote unquote Nico O'Reilly job that he does for Manchester City. So yeah, it's been quite fun.
You think Nico O'Reilly's already like progressed to that level of career where
we're talking about
we've got a Nico O'Reilly role.
See, what I was doing is I was just trying to help our Premier League watching audience to just fit it into their mental mind map. But yeah, there are other inverting fullbacks available who play that more advanced role. But yeah, it's been lots of combinations in that area, and it seems like it's going to be a matter of time before Jan Diomande has some kind of run at some German.
He seems to be getting a lot of space behind Kimmich.
Yeah, they don't seem to be too worried about it. Although at the beginning it did seem like they were going to try and overload him a little bit. But yeah, they've been a bit lucky that he's taken a few heavy touches and a few over hit passes. But he will get a run at one point. I guess that's maybe why they're working it down the other side of the field, just to, again, to make sure if they do lose it, he's not going to be particularly accessible. The goal, I think, was a foul, probably.
Yeah, it's the left arm, right? We thought when we
and it's I don't know, it's a bit of a rubbish goal to give away, isn't it? Yeah. So I think the referees have a responsibility to make sure that the goals are as good as possible.
I think this is a subject close to your heart, but when Nico Schlotterbeck went down with that injury, I was thinking that's probably, in a strange way, the one player Germany cannot afford to lose, just because of there's no left foot, there's no equivalent defender who can pass the ball out. It causes such a problem.
Yeah, I thought I guess they would bring on Rudiger if he went off.
Yeah.
And I wondered if Rudiger was maybe a better matchup for Bonny, potentially. But yeah, we'll see how long Schlotterbeck lasts. He's still on, isn't he, at this point?
Yeah, he seems okay. He was a bit ginger, but he seems... He doesn't seem.
It was a nasty sort of like slight roll of the ankle.
Yeah,
very classic German doctor behaviour though. Just gave him an ibuprofen.
Yeah, be right.
Drink some tea. Yeah. Have an ibuprofen. You'll be right.
Not on a Sunday though,
not
because no one's open
and
to give you the
usually
ibuprofen.
They'll close at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Can I leave before the joke is ready?
Nope, you have to sit there and suffer like the rest of us.
Is this a Joe Devine joke?
In the words of was it Diego Simeone, the suffering is necessary. Seb Stafford Bloor, can you read this joke? Hydration break joke from Joe Devine.
I am going to try and read this without cringing out my spleen. Okay, here we go. Did you know that Freiburg's captain, Christian Gunther, is considering retiring as he's worried his age might lead to a waning of respect for him at the German football club?
No way.
I simply cannot believe
that
Joe knows
that's
who
wild
Christian
news.
Gunther is.
You know what it's like. Hair today, Gunther Moreau.
That's actually not bad. I'll give him that.
And Ivory Coast have responded.
I can't believe that's why I missed the goal.
With a goal.
I hate that Joe Devine.
I actually thought, considering some of the ones that have been read out so far, that was not.
Yeah,
bad.
You should consider yourself lucky because that was not the worst Joe Long stretch that we've had. Right, I'm going back in the cupboard.
You managed like,
Too much
7 minutes.
Right, so we need to watch a replay of this goal because of Joe Devine's choke.
Yeah, okay.
So, okay. Yep.
Kaynak.
Jon said before how... Oh, wow.
Oh.
Wow.
So I'm going to say, nice recovery tackle from Nathaniel Brown, but I'm going to put that on Kimmich.
I agree.
Because that cross shouldn't come in.
Shouldn't come in.
Yeah. And this is again the trade-off they make. Kimmich is there because of what he can do with the ball. He's a very good fullback in that sense, but he's not a lockdown player in that position.
Also, really nice to see Franck Kessié scoring in a World Cup.
Yeah.
Remember when he was like those Milan years were like...
He was part of their title-winning side, wasn't he?
I think he was, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Wild. So Germany behind. Maybe this is the wobble game that they have in every tournament.
Well, I'm sure everyone will respond with, calm attitudes and tempered opinions. There'll be no meltdown.
Is Lothar Matthäus doing punditry in Germany?
Yeah, he's working for Magenta too. Lothar's become a pretty good pundit. I know people still don't always like him, but I think he's really improved. He's got the punditry arc that maybe Alan Shearer had.
Oh yeah,
a few years ago. I know because he made a sort of quite a bad initial impression,
and then
but he's actually I mean there are worse pundits than Lothar.
Do you remember we did one of those Bundesliga roundtables?
Yes.
So the Bundesliga do like a few international media things a year, and it's usually around showpiece fixtures, right, or certain ones. There was a great one that we did a couple of years ago, where Lothar Matthäus and Roman Weidenfeller both sat down, but Lothar had to go and do the Sky game, so he was in a bit of a rush, and he basically just did not stop talking for ages, and then kind of got up, did the whole German, knocked on the table, and was just like, "All right, everyone, I gotta go now," and just like just walked out. It was amazing. And then people were like, "All right, Roman, so can you actually answer some questions now?" Mad energy.
Sounds a bit like a Bielsa press conference. He's emptied his brain, and that's it.
Do you remember that he was like, is there anyone... Was it Jude Bellingham? Jude Bellingham had gone to Real Madrid at that point, right?
I asked him whether... no, I don't think Jude had gone yet, but it was... It
was his final season.
It was his final season, and I asked him, is there anyone in the modern game who reminds you of you? And he was like, no one reminds me of me. But the kind of the long version of the answer was eventually Bellingham. Loves Bellingham.
Yeah. Got a question for you, Seb.
Go on then.
Could Seb give any insight why managers have been so consistently going out of their way to play Kimmich as right back when he's obviously a world-class midfielder with obvious right back weaknesses?
Right. So it depends on who the coach is. So Tuchel, when he was Bayern coach, wanted him as a right back because this was a very long, very boring argument, but he basically said doesn't have the defensive feeling to play that position, to play as a six. Other criticisms of him include the limitations of his passing range. So whilst he has a world-class diagonal long ball that he can play from almost anywhere, some of his medium short-range work is not vertical enough in the way that it is with someone like Pavlovic. And the other problem is he's a really, really good fullback. And so Bayern in this era as well, the difficulty has been they haven't really had someone play the position who's better than him. I mean, they fashioned a very, very good fullback out of Conny Laimer, definitely. He's been ridiculously good.
Yeah,
But-
so versatile, Connie Lima.
Yeah. So there's always this opportunity cost with Kimmich, because wherever you're playing him, you're sort of missing out somewhere else. I think I prefer him in midfield.
I do, but I also think that he's not a midfielder that I would call plug and play.
No.
You can't just put him in any midfield and he's going to work. I think how he gets on in midfield is he's very reliant on the pieces around him. I think that's why it took them a little while to rebalance that midfield at Bayern when initially when Goretzka started to become less favoured. I think because they had like a really good partnership going on. I think he's got it now with Pavlovic. But
Yeah, I suppose the only thing that's missing there is the security, because
yeah,
I think that's it's difficult to explain this to people outside Germany. It doesn't make sense for Bayern to build in a ball winner into their midfield, because that's just not the game they play most weekends of the season. But when they do need it, when they come up against a PSG, for instance, it's very difficult to just build that into your system as a one-off.
you need someone who can basically play there for like 8 games a season.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, you could almost make the case. You say, right, well, maybe that's the one game of the season where you put Kimmich in at right back and then you move Lima into midfield as a sort of a scrappy. He's a very good footballer, but he has that personality too. He can fight. But yeah.
For those of you who are just joining us, we're joined by Chris Evans, author of How to Win the World Cup. And there's no Joe. Joe's off tonight, but he's back tomorrow.
John's having a well-earned rest.
John's in the cupboard, as usual.
Yeah.
But he's having a great time.
He's going to go and learn things that he's going to come back and tell me, and I'm going to steal from my briefing items on the Athletic.
It's awesome. It's been incredible seeing, behind the curtain of how this place runs.
Yeah, how it really works. Yeah. It's all just stealing stuff from John's brain. That's how it works.
And then we've got the podcast coming up later, which is going to be Seb, John, and Chris. We're going to talk about this Germany-Ivory Coast game. And I imagine the Netherlands, who put in a big performance. Maybe touch on Brazil a little bit, because John did a great piece of analysis on Brazil, but I think it would be good to talk about Brazil and also just the different managers, I think, in this tournament, and how, because there's a lot of stuff in Chris's book about that, so it'd be great to talk about that. Because just Carlo Ancelotti at Brazil just feels good.
Yeah.
Something
you want to see.
And also, when managers, like when Klopp left Liverpool and he had all that time off, and then you saw him after a few months and he just looked amazing.
Yeah.
Ancelotti has somehow managed to do that, but stay in management by moving to Brazil and taking over the...
Hang on, we've got a bit of a...
Oh.
Okay.
Great effort for Ivory Coast.
It's interesting, right? Like, before we go back to Carlo and Brazil, those transition situations, that's what's doing it at the moment.
Got a question for Chris. What position do you play?
What position do I play?
Yeah. As someone, if you play football, that is.
Well,
you do.
I've not played 11-side for a few years.
I take that as a compliment, because that's like he looks like a footballer.
Yeah. Well, I will. What I will say, actually, I've not played football for a few years, but last summer I did a pre-season day with Cambridge United for a feature in 4-4-2. Hang
on. Germany have scored, and now they haven't.
Yeah.
No, it's
because he was.
There was surely a foul there. There was surely a foul.
Well, he also forgot about
there's a foul on the edge of the Ivory Coast box.
Yeah.
Wirtz was having a counter press and fouled somebody, I think.
So sorry, you were saying.
Yeah. So yeah, I went to did a day with Cambridge United, and there were six members of the press went, and I agreed at short notice to go. The week after I'd been on holiday, and when I arrived, I got there and found not only was I the oldest person there, but all the rest, some of them were fitness writers.
God.
So went around. What I will say is, despite that, there were 2 people who didn't finish the whole lot, and I did get to the end. And Neil Harris, the manager afterwards, he said to me, he goes, "Oh, we spotted you from a long way away that you'd clearly decided that you were going to be very one-paced and go there." And I thought, you know what? I mean, some people would be offended by that, but I like to think that the first 5 yards is in your head, isn't it? So if I've decided I'm going to get to the end of this, then there you go. I haven't answered that question though, have I? So when I used to play, I was a fullback. I was a right fullback, but not in the sense that fullbacks are now. I was very much the kind of like filling in. I once even, sitting down you won't see, but I'm not particularly tall, but I always played centre back before, which again, so it's in your head, right? But I didn't have a Ronaldo like leap, so that didn't help me. Didn't help me a lot. Probably like Ronaldo leaping now.
I tell you what, I bet he's still got quite a leap.
Oh, he can jump higher than me.
Oh, ball in the box, bit of a scramble, and cleared by the Ivory Coast. And they got a one-on-one. Oh no, nice recovery. Yeah. Just repeating it for someone who's asked, "Where's Devine Joe?" Joe is not here tonight. He's taking a night off. He's back tomorrow. John's in the cupboard.
Shoot.
Ooh, scuffed shot from Wirtz. Was that deflected?
Musiala's not quite there.
No.
It's not quite there yet.
But yeah. Since the injury, right, it's struggled to... Did he pick up another one after?
Yeah, when he was coming back, he suffered some sort of muscular issue and he missed another 3 weeks, which is super common with something like that. But also, he had bad luck because he came back into a side which he wasn't necessarily just going to drop straight into because until Gnabry's injury, he was playing brilliantly. And you wouldn't disrupt those four, like Kane, Gnabry, Elise and Diaz.
It's been a good game.
Let's have a guess. Okay, let's go around the room. Chris, estimate the Germany's XG rating from the first 41 minutes. Let's see you guys.
Okay.
It's always interesting, the difference between the perception and...
I struggle to... Sometimes I look at the XG ratings and I wonder what qualifies to how good the chance is. But are we going to say... I'd probably go something relatively conservative. Are we going to go 0.32 or something like that? Is that a bit higher? Isn't it?
Right.
I think the fact that you're asking means it's probably higher than we think. So I'm going to go 0.8.
No, that was clever subterfuge on my part. Actually, Chris almost nailed it. 0.28.
All right, okay.
Yeah. Well, maybe I do understand what qualifies to a good chance, but...
See, I overthought that.
But it had to go... You'd have thought it was going to go one of two ways, wouldn't you?
I was trying to think of... There haven't been any super clear-cut chances from Germany that would have counted, right? Because the Havertz one came back.
But there's been a few that have been the ball not quite dropping or going in the right place, though, haven't there, I suppose? It'd be interesting to see, seeing France and England, I suppose, as well, having that second half reaction. It'd be interesting to see if Germany have got that. 'Cause, they're the only two things so far. I didn't see Netherlands earlier, so perhaps you'll tell me that they did that. But they kind of have that explosiveness, and that they kind of start the second half. It's that there's not been that sort of pace. A lot of teams seem to struggle with that. So I wonder if Germany... Do we think Germany got that in their locker?
Do you mean like the quick, incisive changes of pace?
Yeah.
I think they do when Wirtz and Musiala are playing their absolute best, because they're the guys that you can give the ball to through the middle of the pitch in tight spaces. Whereas, I don't know, like that attack can be very, very clunky when even just one of those players is... Havertz or Sané when they're not playing well. So we'll see. But, a couple of those guys need to play their way into form, definitely. It's very lateral, too. It's very... I suppose if you were Ivory Coast, this is exactly the game that you'd want to be playing against Germany.
Yep. Yeah, they've looked relatively comfy.
Yep.
Yeah,
The
not
goalkeeper hasn't really made a save.
No, like, or if it was like, was it the one from? I know the Musiala one went wide, right?
Yeah. It was Vit, I think.
Question: is Demande a 120 million player? Will he work at Liverpool? One for both of you, I think.
You go for it, Chris.
I don't think I
Take the hospital pass.
I don't think I know enough about him in order to be able to say accurately. And he was brilliant against Ecuador. Obviously, that's got everyone talking. There was obviously the Liverpool links prior to that. But yeah, I haven't seen him anywhere near enough to do that. And I suppose a part of that is that people are investing in pace and potential, aren't they? Liverpool were doing that. But yeah, I don't think I'm qualified enough to give a thorough answer.
I think it's also relative, isn't it? It's just it's the thing about not wanting to give a kind of very vague answer, but the value of a player really depends on what a team needs and where. Like, someone can afford to pay 100 million for a player that they really, really need in a position, whereas another club paying that amount for that player, it might not be as good value for what they need, right?
Also, what other clubs are spending on players? So Leipzig, whether anyone does spend 130 million euros on him, whatever, like, that's neither here nor there. Like, Leipzig would look at the market and say, particularly if they were dealing with Liverpool, right, you spent this on Alexander Isak, you spent this on Florian Wirtz, you spent this on Ugo Ekitike.
Yep.
Here we've got a player who's younger than all of them, has many more years of his career, and, you know, look around the rest of the market at what it costs to buy a really, really top-class player. The idea of, like, going above 100 million is not as taboo as it used to be. It's kind of standard. I mean, we're already looking at...
Yeah.
Elliot Anderson will certainly, if he changes clubs, will certainly go for more. I wouldn't have a problem with someone spending it. It's not the same.
No, not at all.
Does it work immediately? I don't know, but logically I understand it.
I think there's a thing going on at the moment as well with young attacking talent
coming
to the Premier League, and it's I would if he goes to Liverpool, for example, I would just express or say to Liverpool fans, like, be patient, because I think, as we saw with Florian Wirtz this season, who had I think a lot more experience in the Bundesliga and a lot more experience trying to open up defences in the Bundesliga and won a title.
He played in better Bundesliga teams too.
Exactly. Premier League defences, I think that's the thing that catches a lot of attackers out when they come to the Premier League now, is how good the defences are all the way down the league. And it's so different to playing in the Bundesliga.
It's really interesting as well, because I think what we miss is sometimes some of the cultural adjustments too, because you're a young guy, right? You change country, forget that you're a professional football player, you adjust the language. Florian Wirtz's English has improved immeasurably since I first spoke to him. He wouldn't even give interviews in English the first time I spoke with him, and you've got your life being reorganized around you, and then you're dealing with, you probably have to recondition yourself during a season. So you go from being like, Wirtz of Leverkusen is very hardworking. He's always running to find spaces where he can receive passes. In the Premier League, everything moves quicker, which makes it stand to reason that you would then have to adapt to that intensity. Also, and this was true of pretty much every Bundesliga player who moved last summer, you have to put on about 5 kilos, which is an adjustment in itself, right? Just to kind of withstand the attritional nature of the league. So it's a hell of a thing, but definitely be patient with Wirtz as well. Like, Wirtz is a brilliant footballer.
Oh, he's amazing.
Absolutely,
and I think you saw, to be honest, I think you saw plenty of examples of that last season in the Premier League.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's classic Premier League debate where if you want to see it, you see it. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah.
That you have your entrenched position And if you want to call him a waste of money, then you'll deny everything he does. If you want to claim him as an immediate success, you will pretend you'll see magic in every touch, right? But the truth is obviously somewhere in between, but he will come good. He's too good as a player, not to.
Well, there was a feeling that he was doing better when Salah wasn't around, wasn't the two, and I suppose that probably changes an awful lot about, you know, what it's like as a player within that environment too. So not just on the pitch, but also off it in terms of the pressure, what's there, and who's taking the leadership positions around there. So I think it will be, I'd imagine you see a different Wirtz next year.
I think he'll become, if he stays there, in 2 or 3 years, he'll be among the very best players in the league. He's one of the best players I've seen live.
Yeah, I also think just some of the difficulties facing those new signings last season and the circumstances around Liverpool and when they joined that's a situation.
It's about as hard as it can
get.
Right.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the way that sometimes people just, you know, broke that debate down, or Liverpool struggles down to like, well, they spent X amount of money and they should be doing, you know, better than they are. I still think that they probably should have been doing better than they ended up doing at points, but also you just have no idea how that's going to affect the team. And you've seen now with the departures of Robertson and Salah as well. I think it probably affected those two.
Yeah,
certainly
Robertson,
lot more.
As far as I know, like I think he was very, very close.
Yeah.
To Diogo Jota. I have no idea how difficult that's got to be. I don't pretend to have any understanding of that at all.
And I think, to be honest, the way that it ended with Schlott's departure as well, I think he's come out of it with a lot of credit as well, and I think he'll do very well. Also, he's not got another job yet, has he? But
Not that I'm aware of, no.
I can imagine him going to the Bundesliga, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine him one day coaching Leverkusen. Maybe that's just because he's Dutch and Erik ten Hag did it recently. I don't know. But like, there's, you know, like
I'd like to see him whenever Niko Kovac decides to leave Dortmund. I'd love to see Schlott at Dortmund. I'm not sure if he's would play the way that Dortmund fans kind of want their teams to play necessarily. But
you know who would be a great Dortmund head coach? Ange.
I've constantly said this, dude.
This would really work. I was having this conversation with someone. I honestly think he's the ideal Dortmund head coach.
I do as well.
Pure ideology, you know.
Like, oh yeah, mate. Like, just pure.
Perfect. Absolutely, they would absolutely love him. Well, I think Kovac has done a really decent job.
Yeah, I do as well.
The criticism he gets is outlandish.
I think also, if you actually went through player for player of the squad, there's some big recruitment stuff that needs to happen. Half time.
I'm troubled by what I've seen.
From a Germany point of view?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be a bit more verve, doesn't there? It's just, it feels a bit too... I mean, you said earlier they look a little bit comfortable, don't they, Ivory Coast?
Yeah, I think there needs to be... But like I said, I think Germany have these games in them, in tournaments, where they look very, very underwhelming. But also, Ivory Coast is not a walkover game at all. Right. EAFC time?
Sure.
How do you feel about some EAFC,
Chris? Who am I playing? It's certainly not John, because John was defeated.
I think it's you and Chris.
I'm happy to go. I've played a little bit with my nephew.
Okay. That immediately gives you an advantage.
Well, does it?
Well, how did you fare against your nephew?
I lost. He has a habit of picking, like, they have the preset like dream teams. He has a habit of finding those, and Zidane and co normally rip me apart. But
here you go, mate. Swap out.
Okay, here we go.
That was the remnants of the last game. Here we go.
There's the microphone.
So the rules are club teams, and you randomise the selection, and you get three goes at it, right? John's back from the cupboard.
so club teams, like literally anybody.
Yeah. So if you press randomise,
so is that what?
is that square?
Square, yeah.
and you get 3 goes at randomising before you can pick who you...
Oh, bizarrely, I'm on the right side now, I think.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so... Oh, Juventus.
Oh,
Oh, well, that worked out. So...
So I pressed it once and I got Ackley, and I don't know whether am I gonna.
You can go again if you want.
Let's go
There
again.
are some really poor teams. I should warn you.
Well, this is my concern, and
This makes it more fun though, right? Because this can free.
When before you pressed it and you got Juventus, I was feeling good. You know what? I'm going to go with this because they've got their attack is okay. So let's
It could be much worse than this, I think.
Well, that's my
John,
concern.
While they're picking the teams,
Let's go.
what did you notice for the second part of that first half
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Diomande, and he had his moment.
behind Kimmich?
Yeah, yeah. It was pretty calamitous.
Have a quick look at the
Germany.
like,
It looked
formation. Although I don't know.
a little bit like Nathaniel Brown.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe have done better.
Oh, no, I've absolutely
You've
ruined.
Obviously, I wasn't
Sorry.
watching at the time because I was having to listen to terrible jokes. So, what were your thoughts on?
Ready?
Yeah.
I thought Ivory Coast looked very comfortable.
Sorry, we're going to
Should we do
Yeah.
it?
Very
randomise again.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, and I think that's part and parcel of, as
Why am
we
I
said
constantly
before,
on Saudi Arabia? Oh, is it?
a feeling that
Are
they
you only on Italy then?
they don't want to give up too much space
Ah,
to
wait.
Germany, and as a result,
Oh, so I should randomise.
They're
We
not
should
really-
randomise the country
Okay.
and then
I'm not going to select that.
okay.
What do you expect from the second half tactically?
We'll take Messi.
Switzerland.
yeah, I guess the
It's
question
worked
is,
out for the best.
I guess the question is
China,
how
oh God.
soon the Germans will go for it.
Okay.
I've accepted Messi.
You've killed
And
me.
if it does
haven't you?
become a transitional game, Mike, what does
Do you want
that
to
look like? 'Cause I can't see it
mess
Um,
about with your
particularly
tactics?
I actually don't think
For them.
I know how to do it.
I'm trying to think who they would bring on to. I mean, I would probably.
I admire
Mate.
that.
You could probably take.
My nephew did that for me, so I don't know. But I don't know
Would
the
you
buttons
need
on.
Leroy Sané? Could you replace him with another more ball playing kind of midfielder vibe? Because it feels like if Germany are going to, I could see this game just taking place all around the edge of.
Are you talking about
The Ivory Coast.
World Cup game or this FIFA game?
Oh, the
FA game, not
the actual World Cup game, not this EAFC 26 game. Wait, hang on, who we got? So we got who's who?
I am Inter Miami
Okay.
and Chris
I am-
is Beijing Guan.
Wow.
Yeah, they don't have a huge amount of wide options, do they? Like, it's basically labelling. And that's it, right?
Apologies for two conversations going on there at once.
We should leave. Yeah, we should do one at a time, shouldn't we?
Yeah, apologies. We were talking about the game and we had an EAFC conversation going on in the background.
Oh.
Something you don't see too often, a very short overarm throw from a goalkeeper.
I'm an innovator.
Is that something that's coming back, John? From a
The short overarm throw.
very loopy, almost like an off spinner in
I'd say
cricket.
no.
It's the football equivalent of a was
leg break your way
Yeah.
out of the defensive third? Yeah, okay.
Look at the speed of these passes. This is what I just simply didn't have with Pisa before.
Felt Pisa were limited by how you used them.
Jon Mackenzie is still doing interviews about his
Look, I've said to the
his
board-
stint at Pisa.
I said to the board, unless there's a dramatic improvement in the quality of player that I'm working with,
You've
I'll
contained it.
I'll
basically.
simply walk away. I'm better than this.
Oh no. That was, in hindsight, extremely reckless from me.
Oh, what a lovely pass!
Oh,
Oh,
I think that I meant to shoot. I think.
circle shoot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a corner to Chris for a great move.
Feels like you're a bit under it here, Seb.
I am a little bit. I feel, yeah.
You're saying that I didn't give you a good warm-up?
I'm saying you took so much out of me in that game that I've just got nothing left, like emotionally.
Seb, let's talk a little bit more about the game from your side as the German football correspondent. Something that's a positive from the first half from a German point of view, and something you were concerned about.
Positive. I thought Nathaniel Brown played pretty well. Like as per John and I's conversation midway through, the attacking positions he's been able to get in are pretty encouraging. I can see a chance coming from a situation like that. My negative is really the same thing. That's our positive, right? Which is not when you have Musiala, Wirtz, Sané, Havertz on the pitch, and you're talking about the inversion of the fullback as your main mechanism of chance creation. That's a bit concerning. And I think it goes beyond this game. I'm really worried about Musiala's form.
Right.
Just because I think it's confidence. He needs a moment, and it's not coming yet. I've full confidence in his ability to do that. It just needs to happen, and then I think everything is going to click into place. But Germany can't win the tournament or go deep into it without both of those players playing really well, in my opinion.
You see about the Musiala swipe for the disallowed goal?
What's
in
that?
terms of...
It just seemed to me like that was an obviously beneficial scenario that he just ruined by swiping his leg through.
It's a real shame because I'm a huge Jamal Musiala fan, and this tournament was always meant to be kind of his moment because of his age, because of his prior experience at Euro 2024. It was kind of set up for him to announce himself really as one of the very best players in the world, which is how I think of him. But it's just not. The timing's been off. We said, the recovery from that injury he suffered at the Club World Cup, he's never really recovered his rhythm, which is not really a criticism because it was a really serious injury. But here's hoping, another 45 minutes. Let's see. Another 2 quarters.
Don't you dare. What are your thoughts on the hydration break, Chris?
I'm not a big fan. To be honest, I don't know if there many people are there, apart from unless you're making money off them. Selling ads in the US, I think there's, it's not.
Yeah, I don't.
It changes the way that the games play, and it moves the momentum. I think I saw a good graph actually the other day where someone was showing how it changed the way that the game swayed.
There's an interesting Emma Hayes piece in
I'm going to ask you there
outlet where she was talking about
when I'm shooting, I'm not shooting.
Okay, let's sort you out.
Sorry, we're doing it again, weren't we?
But she was talking about the hydration break from a tactical point of view, and was saying it was definitely one of these things where there's the momentum shifts that people have been talking about. It's like, well, yeah, that's kind of the point, right? That you're giving the managers chance to fix problems. She was also saying that it's one of those ones where obviously having a hydration break is important for health in some of these games, but you can't obviously just do them in the games where there's high temperatures, because if you're doing that, then it's not a level playing field for all of the teams. So again, they're sort of forced to have to do them as well, which I thought was some interesting angles on there. So I sort of feel the same way. I sort of feel if we're going to allow these breaks and make them into times when, I guess the alternative is that you don't speak to the coaches, right? That's potentially a solution to that. But I think it's good to have these momentum shifts. If a team is being run over, then it's quite nice for them to have the opportunity to maybe calm things down and
I guess it probably depends on how your team is doing, right? I saw a lot of people all season complaining about set pieces when they were talking about the Premier League, and they seemed very popular after the Croatia game.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
So maybe if your team is,
I hate them both for Arsenal and England. So at least I'm.
I don't hate them.
Consistent.
I just rather they weren't as
I think the rule changes regarding timing of like throw-ins, etc., have been good, and hopefully they'll bring that in for corners as well. Because I think it had got to a point where an aspect of the game that I think was always a sideshow to the main event had become increasingly the main event, and I think they had to do something about that. So I'm glad that they've been experimenting with some of those, but I guess look forward to seeing Arsenal finish mid-table next season if they bring them in.
That's very kind of you. Thanks. And John, how are you seeing this game?
I've not been watching it.
How's the chat? I need
the chat. Like, give us some stuff, chat, for this game of EAFC between Seb and Chris.
How many people have we hemorrhaged for this week?
Someone says that BJFC have to shoot. Oh, well, I have shoot and lob mixed up.
Yes, I'm aware. I'm trying to. So even after trying to change the controls, I still have the other way. So I'm trying to. What you're witnessing is about 2 decades of being used to pressing with one button. I'm trying to recalibrate my brain.
Very much figuring it out as we go along.
Seems as though Seb's getting away with it. This is what I'm hearing.
Someone said great combined color palette. I agree. This is good. We've got some good.
That's
good. It's a good kit combo, I think. Heading in almost into the last 20 minutes. Not of actual 20 minutes. It'll last about 3 minutes.
Please don't leave.
I do feel as though I'm like that kid at school who's not going to accept defeat because I was pressing the wrong buttons. I will if I lose. It's a fair defeat. I want to put that out there. I'm not.
That's very great.
Having
don't back down. Double down.
He says
the
as
players
he breaks
aren't
through on goal.
but it was a shot. We got.
We
didn't lob.
There.
There was no
I didn't chip it into the goalkeeper's hand this time. So
It was the right button.
John, what are you doing for the second half, John? Are you staying here?
I'm going to go into the cupboard for the first bit because
Okay.
I've got some nice beef yakisoba waiting for me. I'm going to eat that whilst watching the first half of the
So
thing.
you're actually in the kitchen cupboard as opposed to the tactics cupboard.
Yeah, exactly.
Why is this guy so slow?
Is it Luis Suarez?
Was that blaming the players? Now it comes out.
someone needs to run here.
Like someone in the chat said, Sir Alex Ferguson would probably hate the green kits, though.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like another great excuse, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't see each other.
Green on green is tough.
I mean, the little blue arrow does help, actually, above their heads.
Someone said next game, 11 Alexi Lalases versus 11 Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Oof. But yeah, I'll wait to see if there are any immediate changes in the room, and then I'll come back in.
The game is starting, or has actually kicked off. So we're
go.
stepping into the last
Go.
few minutes, then we're going to switch this over, and then Seb, you can stay on the sofa for a bit if you like, because
I will actually go back because I need the laptop.
I can give you the laptop.
I need a better typing position.
Oh wow!
Although no, actually, if it would work, it would work, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Great, yeah.
Fine.
Because I have to go and write down the next hydration break joke.
Oh God.
Before we switch back to the game, everyone watching the game, what's everyone's prediction for now that there's been a goal for Ivory Coast? How's everyone feeling about the rest of the game? How do you all feel the second half's going to go? Because I'm kind of struggling to see exactly what I think is going to happen.
I think it's interesting because I think it's the first time in the tournament.
Sorry, that's my fault.
That was your fault
That was my
entirely.
fault.
It's the first time in the tournament, really, that Nagelsmann has been forced to come up with an answer for something. So let's see. There's pressure. One more clearance, and it's a tremendous Inter Miami victory.
Oh, well done. Well, I put the that I was actually reaching out for the controller. You can have a high five as well.
No,
I'm just going to put the football back on for everyone. Well, not everyone.
That was
Just-
football.
Is the volume down?
It
Don?
might not have looked like football. Might not have looked football for a bit, but it was.
I think just it was a great exhibition Someone says 2. No, we are watching. We are watching the game. For someone in the chat who is asking if we are watching the game, we just overran ever so slightly. I'll tell you when we're on 47. 30 seconds until 47. Okay.
I'm going to do some typing, so I'm going to move my microphone away from me.
Yeah, no worries. I think also we do have. If you want headphones on, Chris, you do have commentary as well, if we need it. I'll give you down from 5.
There's no change to the break, no?
I will check. I don't think there are. Nope.
Didn't look as though there were, no.
Oh, sorry, no. We'll just want Rudiger on for Schlotterbeck.
Nagelsmann was talking to him, wasn't he, before, when he'd gone down?
Daniel says, my feelings are a Germany comeback, Kai Havertz set piece header and a penalty. 2 set pieces. Set pieces have been handy at this World Cup, though.
I think it just depends on how much of a reaction they've got in them, doesn't it? Because there needs to be a lot more pace. There needs to be something a little bit more to test them. It's whether they've got that in their locker.
Corners of Germany. Played short. Oh, actually, you can't do too much commentary either. A lot of people late getting back to their seats. Does look like a lovely stadium, though. It's in Toronto, right?
It's open-sided, though, isn't it? There's no on the corners. There's no.
Yeah, and they added an extra temporary stand out on the. I think it's, as we're looking at the pitch, I think it's on the right-hand side.
Yeah, it feels very unusual seeing it without any corners, because obviously, certainly in the Premier League, you can't move for corners, can you? Literally.
Were there any open side grounds in the Premier League this season? Were there? Oh, Turf Moor. I suppose in the corners. Is that it? I suppose some of Molineux was.
Yeah, Molineux's a little bit different, though, isn't it? Yeah.
But you don't see it much now.
No. No, it's a novelty. Certainly not as much as seeing this concourse in the corner there. As you don't get that, do you? I think you get some nice, some nice big space at Oxford.
Sorry,
I think you just don't.
There's loads actually. Yeah, you don't really think about it, but
you don't see him.
Loads.
Well, I must admit, down here you don't see here. You don't think about it at all. But it's just that concourse. Maybe
like some of
I'll
the
recorrect.
stadiums were like either kind of one of the corners, like at Villa Park, for example. Someone says, but there is like I think the bottom tier of one side kind of goes round. Is that off the top of my head? Am I doing that right?
I've been to Villa Park all sorts of times. Maybe I'm what we've discovered here is that I'm.
No, I think
I'm filling in the corners when I go. I don't like
like visually, but they actually are.
Yeah.
Because like Vitality Stadium as well, Craven Cottage.
Well, that was the one that I've not been to the Vitality. It was the one that I thought based on the size, but
Selhurst as well. Yeah.
Oh, that was a dreadful shout. Well, I'm not here to talk about.
No. I think. Do you know what though? I think it's funny that because a lot of the clubs that you see, the are on the majority of the time. I think, it's not like, it's like someone winning the leagues at, like Arsenal at Highbury anymore. This is an interesting question. Does the heat explain European underperformance? But is it that hot? I think some of these games aren't. What's the temperature in Toronto at the moment? 22. Yeah, I don't know, because it's. I think some of the, like the Germany game the other day was done in an indoor stadium, so it was climate controlled. Some games have been warm, but I think it's been. It doesn't feel like it's been too abnormal.
I think it's. I mean, clearly, there'll be certain times when it, when it's hotter, it will have more of a factor. But if you look at, France, for example, first half against Senegal, they were also quite, ponderous at times. But then clearly that wasn't the heat, because then the second half they came out and it was a completely different performance. So, nothing had changed so much that it would make it easier for them. But yeah, it's very difficult unless you kind of, I think you've got to be right. Understand how it's working on different bodies, haven't you? I mean, this is one thing that you talk, when I spoke to different managers for the book, understanding where you are and understanding what needs to be done for that space is, and that's not just temperatures. It can be kind of like, Germany, West Germany, at the time, 74, they were really concerned about obviously what happened at the Olympics 2 years prior and the security and making sure players were entertained. So it's understanding, the wider environment on some of these things rather than just kind of like it's a football match, because there's so much going on. And the heat is obviously a big thing here, but, how do you prepare?
Yeah.
And how can you get the most out of it?
Deciding where the base will be, and specifically why he picked that base, and how he wanted to be within a certain amount of flying time to each stadium. But I mean, well, it's all, there's so many things that come into it, because not so much now because they'll know where they were going to be for the group stages, but you might see later in the competitions people move around. Time zones is going to be a big factor as well, and things, they've got all these people around them, but as much as they can prepare and they'll all be aware of all these little minutiae, that there's still, for humans, it is going to feel different if you're in one place to another, right? Yeah. So it's kind of being adaptable. I think one of the things that came out is when I spoke to all these people, and it was adversity. And it's not just a case of, when people say about they've got to suffer, managers talk about suffering in games. It's not just about that. It's adversity could be a whole number of things, and the preparation not being quite how you'd want it. Whether it might be that the adversity is that you've kind of been stuck inside, or ordinarily when it's club football, they're not away as long as they are away from family as they are now. So that adversity can come in many different forms. So. Temperature is part of it, but there could be so many other things that we're not seeing when we watch the 90 minutes that are affecting individual performances too. So I think international football is a lot more, there's not as much opportunity to be tactically involved as there. Yeah. So therefore, it's a little bit more of a throwback, where some of these other things do have more of an impact than they do in the club game. Just quickly, for people who are joining and wondering why you may be quite a way ahead of us, we were watching it using a terrestrial aerial, but it wasn't the best quality. So we're streaming it on ITV here. It's on in the UK. And so that gives us a little bit of a delay, and then there is a YouTube delay. So even if we were watching the exact same thing that you were watching, we'd still be about 20 seconds behind you anyway. So apologies if you're unable to pause your broadcast and a little bit ahead of us. There's not much we can do about it at the moment. I've been quite impressed with Ivory Coast the second half. Like, they're pushing, not just kind of sitting back and trying to see the game out.
Well, you'd have thought there'd been a bit of weathering the storm, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Not really at all.
They're pushing Germany back. One of the things I think when thinking about the atmosphere and dealing with different temperatures and different parts of the world, I think this is one thing that came out of when Jurgen Klinsmann was manager in the US. I think I spoke to Steve Sampson, who took the US to the the World Cup in '98. And he said, one of the big things when Klinsmann came in was that he had to understand, certainly in the qualifiers, that you were playing your environment as much as anything else, and it was understanding, what it's like when you're away in certain nations, and it perhaps wasn't as the conditions weren't as consistent as in Europe, and Steve Sampson felt that having a regional expert was really key. Obviously, there's not so much here as that they are when they're qualifying, but that is also really important, I think.
Someone in the chat, Chris, says, who's the oldest person you interviewed for the book?
The oldest person? Yeah. Ooh. I'm trying to think. So in terms of managers, off the top of my head, I spoke to Bora Milutinovic, who I think must be in his 80s, wow. And is a record holder for, or joint record holder with Carlos Alberto Pereira for most World Cup managed. Craig Brown, who's obviously no longer with us as well, I spoke to him. He was a lovely guy, actually, chatting to him. I'm trying to think. I'd say Bora is probably the oldest.
Was there anyone you got maybe like more nervous for? 'Cause I know you're a journalist, and so I think you're kind of used to doing that stuff. But was there anyone who you were a bit like, oh, no?
Yeah, I think. I mean, from a, I guess to anglicise it, I think Jeff Hurst was one of those, because he's kind of like, from a young age, he's always been a presence.
Yeah.
Even if he's not perhaps, I know he used to be a pundit, but in terms of kind of like Jeff Hurst is a name you've always known. And I think that kind of makes it stand out. So to speak to him was good. And actually, I said to him, I did feel that while we'd agreed to the interview, we were 15 minutes through, and we were talking about kind of the tactical changes that Alf Ramsey made. And I did always feel that perhaps there was that sort of dynamic that he was testing me, because he said, "Oh, well, how did you see the tactical change that happened?" Obviously, I had to talk about the wingless wonders and all of that, and then he said, "Yes, that's right," and then he answered the question for me.
Amazing.
And I think that I did wonder, had I not answered it sufficiently, would he have told me that was the end of the interview, or he wasn't going to do it? I don't know. But you don't normally get. People don't normally, certainly in football interviews, don't normally answer a question by asking another one back to you.
That is interesting, yeah. Oh, got a change for Germany. Was that triple change?
They do a Miri as well. That's interesting.
Miri, labelling
Undav
on for Pavlovic, Zane, and Musiala. Triple change.
For context, that's a pretty bold change from Nagelsmann. Okay, so I would have thought levelling as to the right side, Amiri into Musiala's role in the attacking midfield position, and then Undav, I guess, to play, or maybe Havertz goes as a 10. Undav is clearly going to play as a 9, so...
Just thought I may have another oldest person that I spoke to. Have a look. Tell me. So I've not got I was just about to get it on my phone. I thought it's probably not a good look. Otto. Well, you've got it right on key. Otto Pfister. How old is Otto Pfister?
Now He's 88. He's 89 this year.
He might. I think that's older than Bora, so I think he might actually be. He might be the oldest.
Wow.
I mean, doing managers is tricky because it meant that going back and having to talk to players instead, because obviously the nature of what they are, the managers are older. Barry Davis must be 88. So he didn't manage, but he was. I spoke to him and he knew. Talks about having knowing Cruyff. So yeah, he must be 88 and
Wow.
89 this year. I think Barry Davis must be.
Wild.
That's not incredible knowledge. He's exactly 50 years older than me. But that.
Seb.
Yes.
For those who aren't
Yes.
too aware,
Yes.
could you give us a little bit of a background on Jamie Labeling?
Yeah, so kind of a slow burning career. A lot of people will probably have first become aware of him when he was playing for Union Berlin. Right-sided player, good runner, good finisher. I think he's a really good example of what a good coach Sebastian Hoeneß is. He's obviously now at Stuttgart, playing very, very well, had significant Premier League interest actually back in January. Didn't materialise, but I would imagine he would be a mover this summer. Just a really good, I suppose, modern wide forward in the sense that he's not an orthodox winger. He's just someone that will add a lot of different attributes to an attack. Good pace, finisher, gets in the box, can provide assists. Is that no, not a goal for Germany.
Chance on the back post though. Havertz again.
I kind of think of him also as a very obvious Premier League player because he's a pretty physical guy as well. He's not one of those sort of fragile creative types. He's got real thrust and dynamism to him. So yeah, I like him. He's also a really good example actually also of how development's not linear. Just because a player doesn't necessarily stand out when they're very young doesn't mean that they can't grow into a really excellent international later in their career.
Yeah, I think he always feels a little younger than he actually is because
exactly, because he's only just emerged.
Yeah.
But
I mean, he also started at Greuther Fürth, so he was, he's kind of played a lot in the Zweite Bundesliga, and then before going to Union, and then going to Stuttgart. So it does feel like, I think that kind of like you realise he's 25 now. Yeah, I think he probably feels like
a lot of people think it's like 22, 23. But
yeah, I think I did at first.
He's a mistake to make.
Use that down. Germany started to apply some pressure. It feels like the changes of. Not sure that was
quite what was needed there. Having just big Jamie levelling up, but
it was Amiri who was limping.
Yeah, he got absolutely clattered.
Ooh.
Yeah, that is knee on knee. Horrible.
Ouch.
I've been so what's the view on Nagelsmann over in Germany?
Yeah, so back in 2024, really popular. Was seen as a kind of a restorer of the relationship between the German public and the national team. In the years since, he's sort of steadily become less popular, partly because Germany played really badly. They had a bad Nations League. They did not play particularly well during World Cup qualifying, despite being in a really weak group. And also, one of the big criticisms of him is he's been quite conservative with his selections. So you'll find many people who think that Sané, Goretzka, they kind of didn't really deserve their spots in the squad, and that there were certainly people who would have preferred to see Seidel Mahler in the squad, as an option. I think don't necessarily agree with it, but there was some support for Chris Führich from Stuttgart, who would have been an interesting wide attacking option. Didn't get picked, so there's a little bit of that, and I think I get it. I think it's also a little bit of talking yourself out of contention as time goes on, and trying to, having declared themselves a little bit of a favourite for the World Cup in 26 back in 2024, then the German habit was to kind of find reasons why they shouldn't actually believe in that, and they sort of picked holes in Nagelsmann, and also he can be a bit spiky in press conferences, which doesn't help.
Yeah.
And he has the occasional flare up with the media to his personality, so it's tricky. It's nothing that a good couple of solid victories wouldn't help, and a kind of a run to the semi-finals, but it's not as good as it was 2 years ago. Is a really long answer to your question.
Well, it feels a strange one to me because he was on that sort of trajectory, the age that he was to take the job, and I suppose there is an element that, if as it may still do, if it goes well, he could go back into the club game in a sort of like a Luis Enrique sort of vibe. Because should he have stayed in the club game and gone to somewhere like a Chelsea or Paris Saint-Germain, my feeling is the perception would be really would probably be different. He's almost become a forgotten man, hasn't he?
Yeah, because I think a lot of people, unless you live in the country where it's happening, you don't pay attention. It's like when we were talking to John about Carlo Ancelotti in Brazil before, like outside of tournaments, you don't take notice of the news cycle in quite the same way. Whereas at club level, your reputation is sort of constantly under scrutiny, and everything that you do is second guessed. But I think if he were to leave the Germany job, if he was to leave the DFB tomorrow, I think people would look at him in roughly the same way in club football land. But that's for better or worse, Chris, because I think there are still some doubts about his suitability to kind of big club environment, naturally, as because of some of the issues he had at Bayern Munich. And yeah, we'll see. But I think he's still stock has just risen. Stock has just
risen. Germany goal.
They made the right sub, right?
Dennis Undav.
So
Klopp was right for now.
A bit of context with Nagelsmann's relationship with Undav, right? So back in the spring, Germany played against Ghana down in Frankfurt, and down in Stuttgart, sorry. And Undav, no one scored more goals in the Bundesliga other than Harry Kane than Dennis Undav has for Stuttgart.
Great goal.
And he scored a late equaliser against Ghana, a late winner against Ghana. And Nagelsmann gave this very cryptic remark afterwards about how, good goal, but like, would he have been in position to do that had he played the previous 80 minutes or something? Because he came on as a late sub. And their relationship was a little bit fraught. So a big moment for them. For Dennis Undav, Nagelsmann, their relationship, and for a lot of the people who think Undav should be starting in the national team anyway.
The two subs combining for the goal.
Yep.
Great subs. I have to go and get the final hydration break joke for you all. I bet you can't wait. I'll be back in a second.
There feels there's been a bit more energy, haven't there, since the subs have come on? Do you think anyone talks about Pochettino and Klopp? Klopp on the mind now. Pochettino and Ancelotti and Tuchel, and then talk about the super coaches coming into the international game and having their own brands. Where do you think Nagelsmann would have fit in there? Because I think he's a funny one because no one talks of him in that sort of bracket, but actually he wasn't a million miles away from kind of being one of those coaches, was he previously? So
it's a really good question. I think a lot of sort of Nagelsmann's mystique isn't quite the right word, but reputation depends on like how young he was when he was at Hoffenheim and at RB Leipzig. Whereas I think all the guys you've mentioned have like far more substantive bodies of work. Whereas he's kind of still largely theory at club level. You're still like, good tactician, interesting guy, pretty intense, but you're still not quite sure, like you say, you're still not quite sure what he is.
Yeah.
So I don't think I certainly wouldn't put him in that bracket until he's also a bit quirky and weird and different, and he does strange things and he wears not odd clothing, but clothing which is not typical. And so you don't really know what to do with him. There's what is Nagelsmann's brand? It almost doesn't, it's almost a sort of a series of weird contradictions, right? I think.
Well, I mean, that's how because it's kind of, you look at the profile of what does well at international level, and obviously that's changed a little bit for this World Cup in terms of, there's always been big names being, managed at a World Cup, and when it was Lippi and Capello and Otmar Hitzfeld, I think there were 4 European Cup winners or Champions League winners that had been in that World Cup in 2010.
That's right.
But they'd all kind of gone past their best, almost. Their best years were behind them. They didn't go off to another job. And this is where it does feel that little bit different. And this is where, like, if you're looking at classifying who they are, but Nagelsmann, to me, it's really difficult. I mean, maybe for this exact reason you've just answered that, to actually, where'd you put him? What is he?
Actually, yeah, John, what's your take on that?
On how you classify Nagelsmann?
Well, we were talking about, like, because he's been talked about for so long because of how young he was at Hoffenheim, like, he almost doesn't have a brand yet because his body of work isn't significant enough. There's not enough of it. He hasn't done it in enough different places. So he's only coached in Germany. He wasn't a super club coach for long enough, really, with Bayern Munich to kind of compare him to some of the other sort of brand names that exist around European football.
Yeah, the other interesting thing about Nagelsmann, I guess, is that he sort of has been out of the domestic game at a point in time when the game has evolved, maybe more than it has done in like 15, 20 years. And so there's an extent to which, obviously there's a lot of people talking about Nagelsmann after the World Cup. Where should he go? What should his career trajectory look like?
Yeah.
It's actually kind of hard to know what he will look like in the domestic game again, which I think complexifies that conversation even more. But for me, I guess I just see him as in that stream of coaches who are at the juxtaposition of like Guardiola in Germany, where you get sort of the positional influence through the Dutch school, but then at the same time, the ability to sort of speed the game up, play centrally, have that's almost that more direct Germanic element of football in there as well. And I think as a result of that, he feels quite modern, I suppose. Like, it feels like if you brought him into the domestic game now, he would have solutions in a way that some coaches from that kind of school you feel less convinced might do. But I don't know if you would agree or disagree with that.
I still don't know what I think. Like, halfway through that sentence, it got a bit too technical. I just I stopped understanding what you were saying to me. But I think we had a conversation before we started recording about Red Bull football and that particular type of approach to the game and how it doesn't really feel like a USP for anybody anymore. And so to me, Nagelsmann is not, I don't really agree with all Red Bull coaches are the same thing, because I think that's a starting point for a lot of coaches. What I would say, though, is like, it's not, coaching football that way doesn't make you distinctive in the way that it once did.
Yeah.
And so, like, when you say, oh, well, Nagelsmann promises this and he's a kind of the, it's a little church of a particular type of football. I just see him as one of many who coaches that way, and so his distinctive features are going to be how he coaches, his man-to-man management skills, which have sometimes been questioned. How does his temperament, his emotional temperament, suit the pressures at the very top of the game? That's still unanswered.
Is that still being talked about?
It will until because it's nothing compares to Bayern Munich, and until he goes back and corrects some of the things that he's perceived to have been to have done wrong, it can't really.
It was the longboard.
It
all changed with the longboard.
It was the longboard. It was the clothes. It was also, he had this moment against Gladbach, and he got really, really unhappy about a refereeing decision, and I forget what the decision was, but he behaved in a way which the Bayern high brass didn't like, and those characters talk a lot to the media, and that became its own story. Oh, he's not quite suited. He doesn't behave in the way that we want him to. And whether that's a fair assessment or not, and I don't really agree with it necessarily, but then that becomes a mark against him, I think.
But then is it because for all of that though, then he was a bit of a different appointment for Germany, though, wasn't he? Because I think everyone else so many of them had been assistants beforehand, or if they'd not been assistants, they'd been senior members of the squad and been around a long time. So Nagelsmann was a complete change of that sort of German DNA, wasn't it, in that sense?
Completely, yeah, because it wasn't it wasn't a promotion from within, right? It wasn't in the same way that Jürgen Löw had worked for Klinsmann, Flick had worked for Löw. Like, there was a continuity there that that made it. I mean, it didn't feel like a very big issue when those changes happened. Whereas Nagelsmann, given who he was linked with before then, and the assumption was bounce back into club football, get a big job as soon as possible, correct some of the things that went wrong. Like Bayern were even interested briefly in having him back after Tuchel decided he was going to leave. It was a real change of pace, real change of direction, and it's kind of, I suppose now if you look back at it, like there's quite a few coaches who've taken that decision to go into international head coaching and park themselves there. But yeah, very odd. But then odd circumstances, because it was the first time in like 400 years that the DFB had sacked a head coach, so it was going to be
they never hate to do this, but much like a lot of US TV companies are contractually obliged to show ad breaks through the hydration break, we are contractually obliged to read out a Joe Devine joke, and the honour of the second hydration joke falls to Jon Mackenzie, who looks like he cannot wait. Take it away.
Unsurprisingly, Brazil and Arsenal's Gabriel Magalhaes and Gabriel Martinelli often get mixed up. But it should be easy to tell them apart. One is a fast and proactive playmaker who's often, I think that says playmaker, who's often involved in the attacking end and makes a real contribution to the team. And the other is Gabriel Martinelli.
Michael, who was on the show last night, who's an actual comedian, just kept saying, "Very wordy, Joe. Very wordy."
Yeah. There's not a lot of punch in these. It doesn't have a good cadence.
Thanks to Matt in the chat who said you missed the break already. I know, but we had to do it because Joe is not here. Also, the reason that Joe isn't here is that he's just taking a night off. He's back tomorrow. We don't like it any more than you do.
Seems we're also contractually obliged to mention that every 10-15 minutes.
Well, because people you're
these are all burners. You realise that these are all Joe Devine.
Joe
burners.
Devine, just Joe.
Yeah.
Where's Joe? Someone said, "Shush, Seb, otherwise Joe will punch you."
He won't punch me, but he might call me.
Your Tifo crowd they all want to know where their boys are at all times. It's kind of like my nan. Just be like, make sure you let me know where you are.
Big Nick
Voltemada wants to get involved.
Game becoming a little bit more stretched, as we said it might be.
But yeah, for those missing Joe, he's going to be back tomorrow. And Musa's going to join us as well, isn't he, Seb?
He is.
Musa Okwonga from Stadio. And there's going to be another guest as well tomorrow. Someone said the joke was too mean-spirited.
Ooh, hamstring.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit
It was a bit, wasn't it?
Hamstring for Kasunu, I think.
Oh, no. Wow.
The referee doesn't seem to really care about giving fouls.
Nagelsmann just caught the ball mid-rant, which I thought was quite...
It's stuff like that, right? So we were talking about his behaviour re that Gladbach game. That's the stuff that.
Sorry, I'm giggling because someone actually just said Joe's at Warwick Castle with a backpack full of tuna sandwiches. No, that's true. Like, someone said, has anyone asked where Kaya is? Kaya's also taken a well-earned break. Kaya's so reliable. He's like, he's the player on the pitch that you don't notice they're there until you take them out, and you're like, wow, I'll pass.
Yeah.
Like, our ability to keep hold of the ball is just gone. There
was a weird period around when the German goal was scored where there just seemed to be loads of space between the lines for the Ivory Coast and Germany, which suddenly looked very good again. And now it feels like they've sped the game up again. The subs, I thought, did speed the game up to a degree for Germany, which I think was needed. But it's such a funny mishmash of players, this Germany team.
they should do a stream from Warwick Castle. I think that's probably Joe's dream, right? Do you think? What do you think the Warwick Castle thing's a bit?
I mean, he brought it up as a place that he loved.
JJ's in Boston
until tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, he went to soak in the atmosphere for the Scotland game. I'm not reading it out because I think he wants me to, but Joe's messaging me, and just because he wants
to be involved.
He wants to be. I think. Look, see, everyone, all the chat is missing Joe, and Joe is missing you all.
Yeah.
And he's trying to have a night off,
but he's been sucked back in.
Just being like, "Is everyone okay?
Yeah,
is everything okay? Is everyone getting? I like this bit on the stream. I didn't like this bit on the stream." See,
I received some notes early doors.
Did you?
Yeah. That was
it.
Things about my performance that I needed to improve.
Wow, he was giving you live.
I thought he'd be giving you notes about how to deal with me. He'd be like, "Now,
well, no,
the same way you leave a cat with someone, you're like, make sure you feed them a few times a day."
Just before 10:30, just stroke his hair, and if he gets a bit cranky, just put out some milk.
Leave the cupboard under the stairs open so that you can just sneak in.
He said, "Oh my God, you won't read it out, but you'll say I'm messaging. How dare you? See, we got him, everyone, we got him,
ladies and gentlemen, we got him."
I know how to deal with Joe.
Joe has FOMO. Joe gets serious FOMO.
Oh dear, that's very sad.
Oh.
Was that
Casino
or was that Singo?
I can't see his face. He's covering his face with his shirt. Either's bad for Ivory Coast. It's Singo.
Yeah, I thought it was. Not been many injuries this World Cup so far.
But bad ones, though.
Well, yeah, they have. The Ismail Kone one, obviously, but
oh, Joe's in the chat. Wow, this guy, unbelievable. It's
getting a bit raggedy for Germany now.
I thought you were going to say for Joe.
Yeah, it's always been raggedy for Joe.
Joe's losing control.
Seb's put his headphones on so he can't hear you anymore.
I know, rude. All right, so what we've got coming up on the podcast, we're going to talk about this game.
We should talk about German football, I think.
About German football?
I think so. We've had a lot of sort of conversations that have threatened to go there, and I think I'm interested in the topic of, as I mentioned it before, it does this squad feels a bit mishmashy. It feels like Nagelsmann is having to cover over a lot of weaknesses, and there's certain profiles that are missing. And
another change for Germany though. Kai Havertz off. I think it was Leon Goretzka. It is.
Do you like the Leon Goretzka meme with the person that follows him around going Goretzka? Have you seen that?
No.
Everywhere he goes.
But that's quite annoying.
It's very funny.
What would you do if every time you left the athletic building, someone was there just going, Mackenzie?
Yeah. I don't know. But it is, Goretzka doesn't seem very impressed.
No, I'm not surprised.
Germany have pressed a little bit higher this half.
Interesting. Why are we subbing Goretzka on when we're chasing a goal?
Ooh. There's a nice goal by Dennis Undav.
Yeah, the two substitutes combining for it.
Brighton and Hove Albion build it out. It's a foul throw, was it?
Did they give it as a foul throw?
It'd be very funny if this ref
It just looked like it was a...
Did they take too long? Was it one of those ones?
No, it just looked like... Maybe it was the angle. It just didn't look like a very legal throw. Maybe it was the time.
There's been some interesting decisions by the goalkeeper, by the referee. Like, I feel like there's a player writhing in agony like every time I look at the screen.
I've seen a few people comment about various refereeing performances in the World Cup, though. And I don't know if it's because we've been watching a lot of the games and chatting about it.
Yeah.
But I haven't noticed too many.
There's been some in the tactics cupboard. I did note the amount of like foully looking events that the ref was just like, get on with it, off you go. I was like, wow.
What was the universal verdict on the Mbappe penalty that wasn't the other night? That's the one, the big one that jumps out to me.
Yeah. Ooh. Why did you not hit that first time? Wow. Yeah, I thought it's one of those ones, isn't it, where if the referee doesn't give it, it's not going to be overturned.
Mm.
And I guess we don't talk about this enough, the fact that VAR is changing the way that we think about fouls, right? In the sense that there's fouls which are given and won't be overturned, which we think are soft, and then fouls which we think are harsh, not given, and we think are harsh because they're not going to be overturned either. And it means that there's almost like another layer, I think, to thinking about refereeing decisions that can generate fume for fans. And then you have these conversations about consistency, right, where you're like, well, that would be given in this game but not in that game. And
great chance. Wow.
Well, I had
Good
someone
save as well.
Scotland last night.
Nathaniel Brown.
two decisions, wasn't there?
I think the co-commentator said then, he was saying about how, you know, in Scotland these would be given as red cards, but of course, you know,
yeah, right.
In Scotland in the World Cup, you know,
yeah, there was the John McGinn one, which I thought was definitely not a penalty. The Scott McTominay one, I think, was a bit more contentious.
Oh, I thought the McGinn one could have been, because even though there's not like a contact on the leg, he doesn't kick him, but there is these kind of momentum fouls that even though they're not contact, they don't look like penalties on slow-mo, but actually in real time I think they are.
Yeah.
Or they can be, not necessarily definitely are.
I tend to think that those ones are more about like getting done by a defensive player's positioning, and so they've actually shepherded you out of the space, and then you've just gone into them, and then in that situation levered himself over the leg, and then it's hard to kind of call it. The McTominay one looked more contentious to me, but I think the problem with that was that his back leg took a little bit of contact, and he collapsed his front leg, so it just looked quite divey. And I think, you know, that sort of situation makes it harder for a referee to give it potentially. Right. But then you don't dive and you don't get the penalty either, right? So
I think they also wanted
he's just got to hit that, hasn't he?
As well.
I
think Lyndon Dykes was turning, and I think he was on just inside Morocco's half, and he was turning, and I think he was tripped.
Yeah.
And I think they, you know, seem to think that he should, you know, Dykes would have been through if that had been the case. Right, he was that far away, but
there's going to be a goal here. It feels very open. I have no idea which way it's going, but it does feel like this game is going to end in a. You've got to play the ball across there, haven't you? Oh, guess he hasn't seen his teammate. But I guess both these teams already have 3 points, so I guess 4 points would guarantee pretty much you go through, but feels like both teams are going for the win.
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because you were saying earlier about the game state, because you'd think here 4 points, that's it, you're done, you're through, but they're not playing like that, are they, necessarily?
Yeah, I guess it's hard to feel that on the pitch, potentially. Like I guess you're out there and you're a player and you just want to win, right? And you feel, this game is kind of open and there's not the risk in the other direction, right? If we lose the game, then we're still probably going to go through.
Yeah.
Although I guess for Germany it would be a risk to go into the last game and potentially need to get a point. But I mean, I guess it's true for both teams. But Ivory Coast still have Curacao to play, right? So they'd probably feel a bit more confident about picking up more points. Whereas you could see like Ecuador being a bit of a banana skin potentially for Germany.
Just a quick reminder for everyone who's watching on the Watchalong. We're going to take a quick break after this just to sort out some stuff for the podcast. And if you're watching this, I think you'll be redirected to the Tifo channel, which the podcast will be streamed live on the Tifo channel. So yeah, hang around if you want to watch the live podcast, and we'll do that and then get out of here. Try and get home in time for what's the late game tonight? Well, not the late game.
The late show. I'm off tomorrow and I'm really ready for it.
Are you ready?
Maybe
Ecuador Curaçao's 1 o'clock.
Huh?
Ecuador Curaçao's 1 o'clock, and then Tunisia Japan 5 a.m. Might swerve that one.
Well,
5 a.m. is like going to bed and then waking up for it rather than staying up for it, isn't it?
Harvey Renard's first game.
Yeah.
Well, he wants to do a Faye, doesn't he? Because Faye took over during AFCON,
right?
didn't he? And then he won it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You must have mentions of Renard in your book.
I spoke to Renard. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's sort of the archetypal like international coach of a certain. It's a famous meme that was going around, isn't it? In case of emergency, break glass.
Yeah, him and Carlos Queiroz seems to be getting that as well, doesn't he? Yeah, I mean, I think it's how he deals with that situation is we quite fascinating.
Oh! Undav again.
He seems to think this is not offside.
He thinks it's not offside. Ivory Coast think it is.
Has it been given?
It looked to be a little bit of a pause, didn't he? He looked across.
Nagelsmann's quickly returned to the dugout to try and look at his iPad.
Yeah.
John did call it. He did call it.
It's too open. It was too open.
Wow, so are we saying justice for Jurgen Klopp and his having the team?
Does he need justice?
Having the team over Musiala?
Yeah, base for
No.
Undav. Oh, this is going to be close, isn't it? He's on. He's miles on.
Miles on.
That's a really good take and finish.
Yeah.
That is incredibly good.
Felt very training ground drill.
What did we say? Brighton builded house.
Mate. Very, wow.
That first touch is just perfect. Lovely. It's so funny how people say vamos.
Yeah.
He was
funny.
clearly saying vamos
Yeah.
there, Nagelsmann, right?
Madueke.
Madueke did it the other day as well. Yeah, it's very, very weird. I guess there's a lot of Spaniards in footballing context, but then Nagelsmann's been the Germany head coach for a while now. Look at this first touch, man.
Great pass as well.
Like, well, good job we got the line there just to be able to visualise quite how onside it was. Yeah,
That's 4 now, isn't it? That he's got this tournament to get to.
did he get 2 in the?
No, there was. It was only Havertz got the brace. I think.
was it?
There was 6 goal scorers, weren't there, in the Curaçao game?
Right. Okay.
I was about to say.
But he did get 1, did he? So
He did score 1. Yeah.
he must be the highest goal scorer per minutes played. I'm guessing.
That's a really, really big win that for Germany, especially with that kind of first half performance and going behind.
Yeah, and the subs playing a big part in the turnaround.
Surely going to be it now. I imagine there would be a bit for the goal as well, won't there? I did, or maybe he said. I suppose if you could say Jawohl. Jawohl looks a bit like Vamos.
Do you reckon that's what he's saying?
Maybe. Someone else has said, "Come on." It does look. I suppose if you're kind of slow mo, it does look like Vamos.
Well, it's like a VAR check,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's what it looks like in real time is different when you slow it down.
Who was it predicted 2-1 at the start? A few people predicted 2-1.
I think Joe's points of bad prediction was 2-1.
I think I went for 2-1 as well.
I went 2-0 because I was the last one to pick.
That's it. Germany come from behind to beat Ivory Coast 2-1. That's a massive win. We're going to take a really quick break. Thanks for joining us for the watch along, everyone. And then we're going to come back and do the Tifo podcast in a little bit.